Chapter 241, The Killing of the Orcs. Maybe it's just a coincidence, Aaron said slowly, raising his right hand. Don't forget, the omens are not only visible to dwarves. Hearing this, both Gandalf and Thorin calmed down. What happened? Thorin asked coldly. Gandalf looked solemn. We are being hunted. We have to get out of here, Devlin said urgently. No way, we don't have ponies, Oli ran over, breathless. They ran away. Then we can only fight to the death. Aaron took a deep breath. I have 12 arrows here, which can take down 12 enemies. With our dozen fighters and 2 wizards, we might be able to carve a bloody path. That is a bad idea, Gandalf interjected. We may kill the orc scouts, but what about the host that follows? We cannot stand against an army. We must find a way to escape. I'll lure them away, offered the brown-robed wizard Radagast. Those are the wargs of Gundabad. They'll come after me. Gandalf didn't quite approve of the proposal. If anything happened to Radagast, it would be a great loss to Middle-earth. How about I go? Aaron suggested. The woods fell into an eerie silence as everyone turned their attention to him. No, Bilbo said at once. It's too dangerous. You can't outrun those wolves on foot. You have to try, Aaron said with a smile. If you're lucky, you might still escape. Now is not the time to believe in luck. Radagast pointed confidently at his sled. These are rabbits from Fort Rosegard. It's hard to say who will win. Radagast drove the sled pulled by the rabbits of Rosegard, yelling loudly as he sped across the green field, leading the wolf scouts away in all directions. The rest of the group hid behind a large rock. When they saw the wolf scouts being led away, Gandalf immediately led the group to detour from the other side. Even so, it was extremely dangerous. They were on a plain, and only irregular boulders provided cover. Once they moved, they would be exposed to the orcs' view. Radagast was very fast, leading a large number of wolf scouts around the plain, but he did not distract all of them. A half-orc stopped during the pursuit, driving his Gundabad wolf and sniffing the air, seemingly having found the expedition's trail. The warg led him to a boulder and stopped, signaling to the orc on its back that they were nearby. The half-orc pulled out the large knife on his back and looked around, searching for his target. Below the boulder, all members of the expedition team heard the heavy breathing of the warg. They clung to the stone wall, not daring to make a sound. It wasn't that they couldn't deal with this half-orc, but they were worried that making noise would expose their position. More than 10 seconds passed, and the warg was still there, not leaving. Thorin realized it was only a matter of time before they were discovered and decided to act first. He gave Keely a signal to use his bow. Keely nodded slightly, pulled an arrow from his quiver, and shot it into the head of the warg. The warg roared in pain, shaking the orc on its back violently. Keely immediately shot a second arrow, hitting the orc in the chest. The warg and the orc fell from the boulder simultaneously, and 5 or 6 dwarves swarmed up, killing them swiftly. But the screams of the warg and the orc were particularly clear on the plain. The wolf scouts led away by Radagast stopped and looked in the direction of the sound. The dwarves are over there, the leader of the half-orcs immediately ordered. Hurry up and chase them. The howling of wolves continued, and the sound of galloping grew closer and closer. Run, Aaron said immediately. Gandalf also realized the urgency. Follow me quickly. Despite their best efforts, 2 legs couldn't outrun 4, especially not 4 huge wolf legs. It didn't take long for a few wargs to appear in front of the expedition. The team found themselves surrounded by a growing number of wargs and their half-orc riders. The encirclement tightened as more wargs emerged from all directions. We're surrounded. Ron exhaled deeply, pulling Bilbo behind him. Hold your position, Thorin commanded, and the dwarves quickly formed a defensive circle, each gripping their weapons tightly as the wargs closed in. Bilbo, panicking, drew his short sword. What should we do now? Fight, of course, Aaron replied, knocking 2 arrows simultaneously. He aimed at the 2 nearest wargs and released the arrows. Both arrows found their marks, killing the wargs and their riders. Keely swiftly followed up with more arrows, taking down the fallen orcs. Good shot, Dwalin praised. Aaron shook his head. It won't matter how good our shots are. There are too many of them. Keely, give me your arrows. We'll need to break through in one direction, and I'll cover your retreat. What about you? Bilbo asked, his voice filled with concern. I'll catch up. These half-orcs can't kill me yet, Aaron assured him. He was reluctant to use his magic unless absolutely necessary, but he was prepared to do so if it meant saving the group. Where's Gandalf? Oin asked. He left us, Devlin replied grimly. The leader of the orcs, riding a massive warg, approached slowly. Seeing his prey cornered, he laughed, revealing sharp, yellow teeth. Disgusting, Aaron muttered, curling his lip. Uli fired a stone from his slingshot, but it merely bounced off the warg's head. Aaron quickly shot an arrow, which the orc leader dodged. However, Aaron's second arrow struck the warg's waist, causing the orc leader to fall to the ground. Damn bastard, the orc leader growled, yanking the arrow from the warg's body. I'll kill you first. Take out the leader, and the rest will falter, Aaron whispered to Thorin. That won't work with these beasts. They'll keep hunting us regardless, Thorin replied. I know, but killing the leader will still create an opening. When I take him down, charge through his position, Aaron instructed. Thorin looked at Aaron, surprised by the young boy's resolve. How sure are you that you can survive? If nothing goes wrong, you'll all be dead, and I'll be fine, Aaron said with a wry smile. Understood, Thorin nodded. I never thought I'd entrust our safety to a child. Keely, give him your arrows. But Thorin, give them to him. Yes, sir, Keely complied, handing Aaron the remaining arrows. We must survive this. Aaron took a deep breath and drew his bowstring. His arrow flew straight at the orc leader, who tried to dodge but was hit in the arm. The orc dropped his spear, howling in pain. Kill! Thorin roared, leading the charge with the dwarves and Bilbo following closely behind. Suddenly, Gandalf's voice echoed, This way, fools! The group halted, momentarily confused. Thorin turned to see Gandalf under a boulder less than 10 meters away, gesturing towards a hidden cave. What are you waiting for? Aaron shouted. Run! Move, everyone! Thorin ordered, leading the way to the cave and covering the entrance as his teammates retreated. One by one, the expedition members jumped into the cave, with the wargs hot on their heels. Thorin beheaded a warg that got too close, ensuring everyone made it inside safely. The warg that rushed over with a single sword was the last to jump into the cave after ensuring there were no omissions. Several half-orcs looked at the entrance, realizing that the cave was too narrow for the wargs to enter. Even the half-orcs could only enter one by one. Aaron returned Keely's arrow to him and said, Let's guard it first. The two shot arrows, hitting 2 half-orcs to deter the others from approaching. Without their leader, the remaining wolf spies, despite their numerical advantage, were helpless against the easily defensible cave. The sound of horns came from a distance, followed by the sound of horses' hooves, arrows piercing the air, sharp weapons cutting into flesh, and the wailing of wargs mixed with the screams of orcs. It made everyone curious about the situation outside. Although they didn't know who had come to help, their crisis was temporarily lifted. Just as everyone breathed a moaning sigh of relief, the body of a half-orc rolled down. Thorin pulled a silver arrow from the corpse, his face darkening immediately. Elf? He muttered. An elf? Aaron looked at Gandalf, as if understanding why the wizard had left the team halfway. I can't see where the passage leads. Do you want to go? Dwalin noticed the light in the depths of the cave and turned to ask everyone. Of course we have to go, Nuali said directly. It was the only way forward. That is wise, Gandalf said, smiling. You know where this road leads? Aaron asked. Well, you will understand when you arrive, Gandalf replied. Everyone walked through a narrow and steep path that could only accommodate one person, stopping at the exit. It's so beautiful here, Aaron said, looking at the river valley in front of him with wide eyes. If the Shire is suitable for retirement, then this is definitely a resort for vacation. In the middle of the valley was a beautiful city, with pines on the upper reaches and beeches and oaks on the lower. Several waterfalls cascaded from the mountain walls, injecting vitality into the city and finally flowing into the river below. What is this place? Aaron asked. Imladris Valley, Gandalf explained with a smile. That's what the common people call it. Rivendell, Bilbo said, unable to contain himself. You know it? Aaron asked. This is the territory of the elves. The book describes it as a fairyland. I never expected to see it with my own eyes, Bilbo replied. Here is the last refuge of the Eastern Sea, Gandalf continued. Thorin walked up to Gandalf impatiently and said in a questioning tone, You plan to lure us here to seek refuge from our enemies. Your so-called enemy just saved us, Gandalf replied. Who knows if they have ulterior motives, Thorin retorted. Aaron was speechless. Thorin's resentment towards the elves ran deep. You have no enemies here, Thorin Oakenshield. The only hostility in the Vale comes from you, Gandalf said. You think the elves will bless our expedition? Thorin shook his head. They will try to stop us. Of course, but we have questions that need answers, Gandalf said. Thorin was silent for a moment. The map his father left him had a way to enter the Lonely Mountain, but few could interpret it. One such person happened to be in Rivendell. Thorin regarded the elves as enemies, and it felt humiliating to ask them for help, but he had no choice if he wanted to unlock the secrets of the map. You need to use diplomacy to succeed in this matter, with respect, Gandalf said, looking at Thorin meaningfully. When we arrive in Rivendell, please calm down and don't cause trouble. It also needs a charming charm, so I will be in charge of the negotiations, Gandalf added. Charming charm? Aaron curled his lips in disgust. You are really thick-skinned. Can you change your clothes before you say this? To be honest, if you go in with an empty bowl now, you might come out with a full load. Gaius, Gandalf said, rolling his eyes at him. I remember I said that. You still need to understand the most basic manners, Gandalf remarked, as they walked down the river valley along a rugged path. After passing through several narrow stone bridges, they arrived at a wide platform. 2 elf warriors stood at the entrance of Rivendell, holding swords. They were almost indistinguishable from humans, except for their pointed ears. Miss Londa, a male elf, greeted Gandalf as he descended the stairs and saluted. Linde, Gandalf responded with a smile. Your name is Miss Randa? Aaron asked, puzzled. Don't worry, that's just what some elves call me, Gandalf shrugged, then turned to Linde. I need to speak with King Elrond. King Elrond is not here, Linde replied. Not here? Where is he then? Gandalf inquired. Before Linde could answer, the melodious sound of a horn echoed from behind. Hearing this, Gandalf seemed to understand something and turned around with a smile. An elf cavalry was returning to Rivendell across the stone bridge. Seeing this, Orin assumed the elves were preparing to attack and immediately ordered everyone to gather for battle. The 13 dwarves took up their weapons vigilantly, forming a protective circle around Bilbo, who looked utterly confused and lost. Aaron slapped his forehead in exasperation and turned away, speechless. What about respect? He muttered. You still want to ask for help with this attitude? As soon as he comes back, you act as if you're facing a great enemy. How is this different from provocation? And could you be a little wiser? This is their territory. Even if you're upset with the elves, you should pay attention to the occasion. Gandalf was also quite frustrated. Fortunately, he was in charge of negotiating. If it had been anyone else, they would have surely been kicked out as unwelcome guests. Chapter 242, The Riddle and the Secret, Make You Familiar, Gandalf. King Elrond. Gandalf smiled and stepped forward. My friend, where have you been? We went hunting the half-orc army from the south and killed a few near the secret passage, King Elrond replied, dismounting and giving Gandalf a hug. The half-orcs dare to approach our borders. Something or someone must have attracted them. It may be us, Gandalf said. Thorin took a few steps forward, his expression blank. King Elrond noticed the dwarf prince, and his expression became solemn. Welcome, Thorin, son of Thrain. I don't think we've met, Thorin said. You look like your grandfather, who was king of the mountain when I met him, King Elrond remarked. Really? He never mentioned you, Thorin replied lightly. King Elrond didn't mind Thorin's plain tone. Elves have an extremely long lifespan, and regardless of his identity, Thorin's grandfather was still a junior in front of him. Since you have come from a long way, let's go after eating. King Elrond spoke these words in the elvish tongue, but Thorin and the dwarves behind him could not understand. What is he talking about? Is he insulting us? Groin said angrily. No, Mr. Groin, he wants to treat you to dinner, Gandalf explained immediately. The dwarves gathered together and discussed for a moment. Groin's attitude improved slightly. If this is the case, then lead the way. As they walked up the stairs, Aaron looked at the river valley curiously. The peace and tranquility were even better than that of the Shire. However, compared with the Hobbit settlement, Rivendell had elite armed forces, giving a sense of security. Thorin, did you know this elf king before? Aaron asked puzzledly. Although it's the first time I've seen you, I don't think King Elrond is the kind of person who ignores others. It's not him, Thorin shook his head complicatedly. It's another elf. Oh, Aaron raised his eyebrows. In this case, I hope you remember what Gandalf said and restrain your arrogance a little bit. After all, we are asking for help. Thorin paused slightly. Let's see what happens. Entering the banquet hall, the elves had prepared beautiful music and exquisite green food to entertain the guests from afar, but the dwarves didn't know how to appreciate the music and were full of disgust for the food on the table. Aaron and Bilbo looked at each other, dumbfounded. There was no meat on the plate. Except for some dim sum, it was all fresh vegetables. But these vegetables were all raw, making them difficult to eat. Bilbo, have you ever read about the diet of elves? Aaron lowered his voice. It's much worse than the banquet at your house, Bilbo murmured, looking at the table full of vegetables. Today is an eye-opener. Aaron picked up a piece of lettuce, rolled some wild rice stems and carrots, and ate it with big mouthfuls. Bilbo was not as exaggerated as he was, and just took a few pieces of cake to pad his stomach. King Elrond, I hope you can identify these two swords, Gandalf said. Although Thorin was somewhat reluctant, he still handed over the weapon in his hand. This is the beast-biting sword, the famous sword for beheading half-orcs, King Elrond said, pulling out Thorin's saber and sighing. This sword was forged by my Western High Elf clan. I hope it will help you. This is Glamdring, King Elrond continued, after returning the beast-biting sword to Thorin and checking Gandalf's saber. It is the sword of King Gondolin's enemy, and it was made to slay orcs in the First Age. Hearing what King Elrond said, Bilbo quietly drew his short sword under the table, wondering about its origin. Would you like to let King Elrond examine it too? Aaron teased. My ancestors were blacksmiths, and I can tell you responsibly that the quality of your sword will not be inferior to theirs. Don't worry, little brother, Balin comforted. Swords are named after their exploits in war. You mean my sword could become famous too? Bilbo asked, his eyes wide with curiosity. Has the sword never been used in battle? Bilbo asked, a hint of disappointment in his voice. Hey! Just because it hasn't been on the battlefield yet doesn't mean it won't have the opportunity in the future, Aaron replied, patting Bilbo's arm meaningfully. Every sword has its purpose when it is forged. While most swords and fencing techniques lack special magic, your sword is different. Bilbo pondered deeply, beginning to understand why Gandalf had given him the sword. Its primary purpose was early warning, with combat as a secondary function. How did you obtain it? Asked King Elrond. In the Troll's Cave on the Eastern Way, Gandalf replied, just before the orcs came upon us. Why were you on Dongfang Avenue? King Elrond inquired further. Gandalf hesitated for a moment, noticing Thorin's uneasy expression. He understood that the dwarf prince did not want the elves to know their true purpose. We'll discuss this later, he said. After the banquet, Gandalf gathered Thorin, Balin, Bilbo, and Aaron to meet with King Elrond. He spoke directly. We don't need the elves to meddle in our affairs. Thorin stood firm, his face showing clear rejection. This is the legacy of my people, and its secrets are mine to guard. My God, I am tired of the stubbornness of dwarves, Gandalf said warily. Thorin, give him the map. Thorin hesitated, but Aaron interjected. Elves are different from each other. If you can't solve the secrets, you can't protect them. Sometimes you have to trust others. Also, if you don't like it, it's time for us to ask for help. Gandalf nodded in agreement. Thorin, you stand before one of the few people in Middle-earth who can understand this. Show it to King Elrond. After a moment of silence, Thorin reached into his bosom and took out the family map. Balin tried to stop him, but was interrupted by Thorin's determined gesture. King Elrond opened the map and was taken aback by the sight of the lonely mountain and the dragon hovering above it. Erebor, why are you interested in this map? It's mainly for academic research, Gandalf interjected before Thorin could respond. As you know, such ancient objects often contain secret words. You can read Old Dwarven, right? King Elrond didn't answer directly but examined the map carefully. The text of the moon. The text of the moon? Gandalf echoed, realization dawning on him. Of course, it's easily overlooked. What is the text of the moon? Aaron asked curiously. As the name suggests, the text is read by moonlight, King Elrond explained. The season and shape of the moon must match the time of writing. Can you read it? Thorin asked. King Elrond smiled and led them to an empty terrace with a crystal table. These runes were written on the evening of the summer solstice under the light of the new moon about 200 years ago. It seems you were destined to come to Rivendell. He placed the map on the table. Fate favors you, Thorin Oakenshield. The same moonlight shines on you and me tonight. As he spoke, a crescent moon appeared in the sky, casting white moonlight. Under this light, a few lines of white text appeared on the map. Stand by the gray rock when the thrush strikes, and the setting sun will shine on the keyhole by the afterglow of that Durin's day. Aaron blinked in confusion. It's quite poetic, but there's a riddle after solving the secret. That's too much. I can only gather that we need to reach Erebor before Durin's day. But when is Durin's day? It is New Year's Day in the Dwarven calendar, Gandalf explained, when the last moon of autumn and the sun of the first winter meet in the sky at the same time. This is bad news, Thorin said, frowning. Summer is approaching, and Durin's day is near. We still have time, Balin reassured. We need to be in the right place at the right time, find the entrance, and open the door. It seems I have a long journey ahead, and I must hasten, Aaron said with a touch of melancholy. I haven't. I've traveled so long since I was born. It will take at least a year to go back and forth. Gaius, Gandalf appeared in front of Aaron with a smile. Cherish this journey. It is extremely precious and meaningful for a 13-year-old child. Aaron thought to himself, I believe in your nonsense. If it weren't for the completion of the 2 system tasks, I would have left the team in minutes. You're only 13 years old? King Elrond looked at Aaron in surprise, then turned his gaze to Gandalf. Mithrandir, your discerning eye is as sharp as ever. Age is not important, Gandalf replied, slightly flustered. What matters is that Gaius is far more reliable than you think. He is. Cough, cough, Aaron interrupted with a cough, causing Gandalf to smile awkwardly and swallow his words. In short, his background is complicated, but he is more reliable than anyone. So your purpose is to enter the mountain? Thorin asked. So what? Gandalf responded. Some people will think it's not wise to do that, King Elrond interjected. What do you mean? Gandalf frowned, sensing a hidden meaning in Elrond's words. You are not the only guardian of Middle-earth, King Elrond said meaningfully before walking away. That's right, Aaron laughed. If Middle-earth were only supported by a gray-robed wizard, it would have been taken over by evil long ago. Someone is here in Rivendell, Gandalf said seriously. Thorin, take Bilbo and Balin to rest first. Gaius, come with me. Aaron curled his lips in disdain. No. He wasn't stupid. Gandalf dismissed the others, leaving him alone, clearly up to no good. It's important, Gandalf insisted. No matter how important it is, I won't go. What if it's related to your memory? Gandalf smiled playfully. This person may help you restore your memory. I don't think you will refuse. Hearing this, Aaron was petrified. Going meant he might fall into Gandalf's trap, but if he didn't, the excuse of memory loss would be useless, and he would have to face the consequences. After a moment of silence, Aaron forced out a smile that was uglier than crying. Fine. The two walked out onto the terrace, and King Elrond led them to the highest room in Rivendell, where they could clearly see the scenery, including the waterfall and moonlight. Whether we help or not, the dwarves will march on Wushan, determined to reclaim their lost land. Thorin Oakenshield doesn't think he needs to explain to anyone, and neither do I, Gandalf said. I am not the one you need to explain to, King Elrond replied, gesturing for them to look into the room. Gandalf turned around and noticed a figure standing under the moonlight. He couldn't help but be startled. Queen Galadriel. Aaron's eyes stayed on the face of the elf queen for a moment. He wasn't just attracted by her beauty, but looked into her eyes. Eyes are the windows to the soul, and Aaron read wisdom and calmness in hers. This queen was definitely not just a pretty face, but a wise and powerful leader. Of course, her appearance was also striking. Mithrandir, Queen Galadriel said with a slight smile. Long time no see. Time has changed me, but not Queen Lorien, Gandalf replied cautiously. I didn't know King Elrond informed you. It wasn't him, it was me, a voice said. Gandalf's expression froze, and as he turned his head, he put on a smile and bent slightly to show respect. Saruman, the white-robed wizard, held a staff and was neatly dressed. Although Saruman also looked like an old man, he exuded sharpness in stark contrast to the gray-robed wizard. "You've been very busy recently, my friend," Saruman smiled, then turned his attention to Aaron. "I personally don't think our meeting is suitable for children to be present." What the white-robed wizard said was polite, but the meaning was clear. Children should not interrupt when adults are talking. Hearing this, Aaron was not angry. In fact, he was a little elated. If he really wanted to fall asleep, someone would give him a pillow. Aaron was contemplating how to avoid this meeting, but Saruman inadvertently came to his aid. Despite the arrogance of the white-robed wizard, which Aaron found somewhat off-putting, he silently gave him a mental thumbs-up. "You are a good person." "Respected wizard in the white robe," Aaron bowed politely. "You are absolutely right. I will take my leave now." "Wait, Gaius," Gandalf called out just as Aaron turned to go, grabbing him by the coat. Aaron rolled his eyes in exasperation. "This is the suggestion of the white-robed wizard," he pointed out. "Suggestions are not orders," Gandalf replied, brushing off Aaron's hands. "What is your purpose here?" Aaron asked impatiently. "I don't mean anything else. I just want you to get acquainted with everyone," Gandalf said, blinking at Aaron. "This is for your own good. The people here are all important figures. Knowing them will benefit you." "Ha!" Aaron laughed out of frustration, feeling a mix of anger and helplessness. If he wasn't worried about being overpowered, he would have loved to throw Gandalf off the platform. This was a conspiracy, no doubt about it. For over 2 months, Aaron had been cautious, keeping a low profile and refraining from using even the most basic magic to avoid drawing attention from these influential individuals. But Gandalf's insistence on making him a familiar face rendered all his efforts to stay hidden completely futile. "Gandalf, isn't this a bit of a joke?" Saruman interjected, clearly displeased. King Elrond and Queen Galadriel also looked puzzled, unable to comprehend why Gandalf, the renowned Mithrandir, would take such an interest in a child. "No, please believe me," Gandalf insisted. "Aaron Gaius is special. From the first time I saw him, I had a feeling that with his help we would achieve twice the results with half the effort." Chapter 243, The Stubborn White-Robe Wizard. All eyes were on Aaron, making him feel immense pressure. A few drops of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. The highest-ranking white-robed wizard, 2 elf kings, and a gray-robed wizard who was determined to drag him onto the pirate ship were all present. According to his guess, the weakest among them could be compared to the powerful demon he knew, while the strongest, Saruman, might have already stepped into the level of a holy wizard. In a one-on-one fight, Aaron was confident he could defeat anyone except Saruman, but here he faced 4 formidable figures. As a magister, he felt weak, pitiful, and helpless. It would be a lie to say he wasn't nervous. "Even if you say that," Saruman paused, "he's just a child after all." "Great white-robed wizard, you really know people." Aaron smiled obsequiously, feeling very grateful to Saruman. "I won't bother you any longer. I'll leave now." "Stop," Gandalf whispered. Aaron stopped and rolled his eyes in exasperation. "Is that necessary?" Gandalf shrugged and then turned his attention to Queen Galadriel. "I hope you can give this child a chance to listen." Queen Galadriel nodded gently. She and Gandalf were old acquaintances and would not refuse such a request. With the Elf Queen's approval, even if Saruman was reluctant, it was not appropriate for Aaron to leave. The 4 of them sat around a table to discuss the content related to the dwarves' expedition. The white-robed wizard disapproved of Gandalf's plan, thinking that their trip to Erebor would be a waste of time and would anger the dragon Smaug, who slept there. Gandalf insisted on his plan, as Smaug was becoming a significant concern. The evil dragon had great power to attack cities and conquer territories. Although it did not obey anyone, it was very likely to form an alliance with the enemy, which would lead to big trouble. Saruman sneered at this explanation. He believed their enemies were already defeated, and that the necromancer Sauron's mana would never be restored. Otherwise, peace in Middle-earth would not have lasted for hundreds of years. Aaron, listening to this debate-like discussion, yawned a little out of boredom. He personally preferred Gandalf's perspective because he had a sense of crisis and various omens indicated that Sauron might make a comeback. However, Aaron didn't care much. If the sky fell, there would be taller men to support it. If this group of bosses could defeat Sauron once, they could do it again. Besides, he wasn't from this world. Maybe he would return home safely before Sauron started to act. The most important thing was that he hadn't finished his task yet. So why think so much? Glancing at the night outside, Aaron silently opened his personal panel. Magic energy, 8300, Magister, the end of most wizards' lives. Talent, rare in 100 years. Magic energy increases by 3 points every day. Items, Moondrop, can remove any negative spells. Resurrection Potion, can resurrect any creature that died within an hour. Magic Carpet, inactive Dragon Slayer crystal. Looking at the value in the last column, Aaron missed Hogwarts very much. If he had signed there, his magic points would be at least 4 digits, and he wouldn't be so shabby. System, sign in. Congratulations to the host for signing in successfully in Rivendell and getting 10 magic points. Aaron felt a bit happier. Rivendell did not disappoint him. Although there weren't many magic points now, he could still buy some valuable things in the system mall. Aaron's attention shifted back and forth between two commodities, the Patronus Charm and Captain Jack's Compass. Both were worth a significant amount of magic points. The former was a high-level defensive magic that could have a miraculous effect on undead and similar threats, giving him more confidence in this world. The latter could make his adventure much smoother, providing the right direction and helping him avoid many detours. After struggling for a while, Aaron received an order on the Patronus Charm. All the information about this ancient magic instantly appeared in his mind. The Patronus Charm is an extraordinary spell that requires concentration and happiness as its source, making it quite challenging. Some wizards can only summon a cloud of white steam, a formless Patronus with limited defensive ability. However, Aaron could summon a fully formed Patronus, which possesses strong defensive capabilities. A slight smile played on Aaron's lips. If it weren't for the presence of several important figures, he would have eagerly tested his Patronus. Although he hadn't officially cast the Patronus Charm yet, he had a vague idea of what form his Patronus would take. Additionally, he understood the language of dragons and could summon a second Patronus in dragon form. When the first ray of sunlight hit Aaron's face in the morning, he opened his eyes groggily. Gandalf and Saruman had argued endlessly throughout the night, neither managing to persuade the other. Aaron admired their stamina. He could understand the elves staying awake all night, but these two old men were remarkably energetic after a sleepless night. At this moment, Gandalf took out a long object wrapped in yellow cloth from his arms, a special gift from Radagast. King Elrond lifted the yellow cloth, revealing a black iron sword. A look of surprise flashed in their eyes, and even Saruman fell silent. "This is the Devil's Cave sword," King Elrond said in astonishment. This sword shocked him more than the beast-biting sword and the enemy fencing sword. Forged by the Witch King of Angmar, it was buried with him, Queen Galadriel murmured. When Angmar was breached, the northern people sealed his body and all his belongings in Rudol's barren hills. They buried it deep in a pile of stones, so dark the cemetery never sees the light of day. "This is impossible. The cemetery is sealed with a powerful spell. It cannot be broken," King Elrond insisted. "How can we prove that this sword came from the tomb of Angmar?" Saruman asked. "I can't prove it," Gandalf admitted helplessly. He felt that Saruman was being obstinate and couldn't let him go to the grave robber. "Let's examine the known facts," Saruman said lightly. A small group of half-orcs dared to cross Brunnen. Someone found an ancient dagger. A mortal magician claimed to be a necromancer and lived in an abandoned castle. None of this is a big deal. Aaron mentally labeled Saruman an idiot. Enjoying ease was understandable, but at least be a little vigilant. Was it still a coincidence that so many coincidences were linked together? "But the dwarf expedition bothers me." "I disagree, Gandalf." Saruman shook his head resolutely. "I cannot approve of this expedition. If they had asked for instructions earlier, I wouldn't have to turn back in disappointment." Hearing Saruman's words, Aaron couldn't bear it any longer. Canceling the expedition? He had signed the deed, and so had everyone else. It meant a lot. Moreover, the two system tasks were closely related to this expedition. If he didn't even know the way, the time and difficulty of completing the task would increase several times. Gandalf, I think I've got to go. You know, the expedition can't do without me. Of course, I have to talk to Queen Galadriel about something. Please tell them not to worry, Gandalf smiled, then apologized to Saruman with some embarrassment. The dwarves are more stubborn than you think. Thorin Oakenshield will not stop going to the Lonely Mountain because of your objection. Really? Saruman's face darkened. Then I'm afraid I have to talk to him and clarify my interests. Maybe he will reconsider. At this moment, footsteps approached from outside, and Linde walked into the room. King Elrond, the dwarves have gone of their own accord. It seems that the great white-robed wizard doesn't need to bother talking to Thorin, Aaron said meaningfully, then realized something, and the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. Aaron's heart raced as he watched the giant rise from the ground, its massive form towering over the landscape. Wait, they left without taking me? He muttered, twitching with frustration. Obviously, Linda replied calmly. Aaron gritted his teeth, then turned to Linda. I hope you can help me with something. I need to borrow a horse. Linda hesitated, glancing at King Elrond. You see? Go do it, Elrond commanded. Yes, my lord. Linda led Aaron outside Rivendell. Just after crossing the stone bridge, an elf warrior approached, leading a magnificent white horse. Tutsk! This is much more handsome than my pony, Aaron remarked, admiring the horse. This is a war horse domesticated by elves, with first-class physical strength and endurance. It will automatically return after you find the dwarves, Linda explained. Aaron pulled a few gold coins from his pocket and handed them to Lind. Take this as the rental fee. Don't think too little of it. I don't have much money. This is unnecessary, Linda said, his eyes twitching slightly. As King Elrond's confidant and a prominent figure in Rivendell, he felt ashamed to take a child's money. Aaron scratched his head in embarrassment. Actually, I need you to help me prepare something else. What? Linda asked, surprised. What else do you need? Food, preferably dry food. For water, just put it in one bag. My water bag was accidentally lost on the road. And if possible, swords, bows, and arrows. Wait, I can understand food and water, but don't you have weapons? Linda asked. Aaron untied his bow and arrow, smiling shyly. How can these scrap metals compare with elven weapons? Lindy couldn't help but laugh and ordered his people to prepare supplies and new weapons for Aaron. Thank you, Aaron said, gathering enough wool and mounting his horse decisively. He set off along a small path, determined to catch up with the others. Aaron finally caught up with the group by noon. It's too much for you to ignore me, he said, slightly out of breath. Bilbo sighed in relief upon seeing Aaron. I knew you would follow. Where is Gandalf? Thorin asked. He's busy convincing someone even more stubborn than you. It might take a while for him to catch up, Aaron replied. Thorin nodded slightly. Let's move on. With a sense of urgency to reach the Lonely Mountain before the Day of Turin, Thorin chose a narrow mountain road. The expedition team traversed the wilderness, climbed snow-capped mountains, crossed deep valleys, and scaled cliffs. But halfway through, the sky darkened with lightning and thunder, and it began to rain heavily. This is not a good sign, Aaron murmured. I hate this weather. Everyone hates this kind of weather, especially on a dangerous road where only one person can pass, Balin said. Thorin, we need to find a place to shelter from the rain. I'm looking, Thorin replied. Wait, Aaron suddenly said. Don't talk yet. The group stopped in their tracks, puzzled as the heavy rain poured down. Aaron pressed his ear against the cliff, his face changing drastically after a few seconds. We need to get out of here quickly and use the fastest speed. What's wrong? Dwalin asked, confused. The road under our feet is alive, Aaron said seriously. I just heard the sound of breathing, very light but very long, like a mountain. Oin seemed to recall something. Impossible, that's just a legend. Nothing is impossible. Hurry up and go, Aaron urged. But the rain is too heavy. It will be especially dangerous to travel at this time, Nori said. The place where we are standing is more dangerous, Aaron insisted, looking at Thorin. You must listen to me this time. This is 100 times more dangerous than the ogre. If you don't run, it will be too late. Thorin was silent for a moment, then ordered everyone to move on. The group braved the heavy rain and crossed the cliff as quickly as possible. During the journey, Bilbo slipped and almost fell into the abyss, but Thorin rescued him just in time. Not even a minute after they left, the ground where they had been standing was smashed to pieces by a huge boulder. A giant as big as a mountain slowly stood up, its massive form casting a shadow over the landscape. In the midst of the great storm, the stone giant stood as unaffected as a god. However, another stone giant emerged from the darkness, and without hesitation, they began to fight. Each punch and stomp caused the mountain to shake, sending huge chunks of rock tumbling down, further damaging their already cracked bodies. To make matters worse, a third golem joined the fray, turning the duel into a chaotic melee. They hurled boulders at each other with the intent to kill. The massive rocks collided with thunderous force, amplified by the storm's lightning and thunder. The valley became a scene of utter destruction, with trees being uprooted and shattered. The expedition team watched in stunned silence, their eyes wide with disbelief. "The legend of the stone giant is true," Bilbo murmured, unable to fully grasp the reality before him. Aaron took a deep breath, trying to suppress the shock that gripped his heart. As a novice magister, he felt utterly powerless in the face of such a colossal battle. He might be able to protect himself, but he couldn't guarantee the safety of the others. Fortunately, they had moved quickly, otherwise the expedition team might have suffered casualties. The scene was a testament to the raw power and fury of the stone giants, a sight that none of them would ever forget. Chapter 244, Stabbing the Orc's Nest. Far from the battlefield of the stone giant, the expedition team began to look for shelter from the rain. After walking for a while, they luckily found a cave. "It seems to be safe," Thorin said. "Go to the back and have a look. Caves are usually inhabited." Dwalin took a lantern and inspected carefully. "This place is empty." Gloin threw down a pile of wood. "I'll light the fire." "No, don't light a fire here," Thorin stopped him. "Go to bed. We're leaving at dawn." "We should wait for Gandalf to meet up in the mountains," Balin said, a little puzzled. "It was originally planned." "Plans change. Bofur, you deserve the first watch." "Be considerate," Aaron patted Balin's shoulder. "The day of Durin is getting closer, and it is understandable for him to be anxious. Besides, Gandalf is a famous gray-robed wizard. He will follow." When everyone fell asleep and began snoring one after another, Bilbo quietly opened his eyes. He packed up his belongings, carried a blanket on his back, picked up a wooden stick, and walked out of the cave lightly. What Bilbo didn't know, however, was that Thorin woke up when he got up, but said nothing to stop him from leaving. Bilbo had just reached the entrance of the cave when Bofur, who was in charge of the night watch, spotted him. "Where are you going?" "Going home, of course," Bilbo replied. Aaron walked up to Bilbo. "I must have guessed right." Bilbo nodded guiltily. "Thorin said I shouldn't have come, and he was right. I'm not a Took, I'm a Baggins, and I think too much." "Understood," Aaron smiled. "This journey is really too exciting for a hobbit who has enjoyed a peaceful life for decades. But you are part of our expedition," Bofur said eagerly. "I understand how you feel homesick." "No, none of you understand. You are dwarves, used to this life, traveling, wandering, without belonging." Bilbo suddenly saw that Bofur's face turned somber and realized his words were hurtful. "Sorry, I didn't mean it." "No, you're right." Bofur was silent for a few seconds, then looked back at the dozen or so sleeping companions. "We don't belong." "But you are now finding your belonging," Aaron said earnestly. "It is very disheartening to lose your home, but having the courage to regain it is more valuable than rebuilding it." "Thank you," Bofur smiled gratefully, then looked at Bilbo. "I wish you all the best." Bilbo froze for a moment, as if he didn't expect Bofur to give him the deserter blessing. "Wait a minute." Aaron took out a rolled-up dark blue blanket. "This is for you. No, to be precise, I am lending it to you." "I have blankets. Mine is different, Bilbo Baggins. Open it when you are in danger. It may save your life," Aaron said in a deep voice. "Don't forget, my ancestors were wizards, and it's normal to pass down some special items." Bilbo hesitated, realizing that the blanket was more precious than he thought. "It's not appropriate." "No, that's fine. First, I am just lending it to you, and you have to return it to me when we return from Erebor. Secondly, don't forget the dangers we encountered along the way. Ogres, wargs, orcs. Without something life-saving, whether you can return to the Shire alive is uncertain. Aaron had already talked to this point, and Bilbo couldn't refuse. He stuffed the blanket into his package. "You are welcome to visit my house anytime." Took may be a great adventurer, but Bilbo Baggins may not be his equal. Just as Bilbo was about to turn around, he heard Aaron's words, and his mood instantly became extremely complicated. "What's that?" asked Beaufort suddenly, his eyes fixed on the short sword at Bilbo's waist. Blue light overflowed from the scabbard, especially conspicuous in the dark cave. "Ah!" Aaron's expression changed dramatically. "I think we're in big trouble." He immediately turned around and shouted, "Everyone, don't sleep. The enemy is nearby." As the words fell, the dwarves opened their eyes in a daze. Thorin, who hadn't slept, was the first to stand up and remind everyone. It was too late. The ground split at an exaggerated speed, and everyone fell uncontrollably. Below was a long tunnel with torches every few meters. It was clearly dug out artificially, but the work was very rough. The members of the expedition fell one by one onto a wooden platform suspended in midair. Aaron was the last to fall, landing on Bomber's stomach without sustaining any damage. Before anyone could react, a dense crowd of orcs surrounded them. They swarmed up, arrested the expedition team without saying a word, and escorted them to a crude wooden bridge. None of the dwarves managed to escape, and neither did Aaron. However, Bilbo was fortunate enough to evade the goblin's sight and remained on the ground. "Don't touch me," Nori resisted, pushing away the orc who was holding him. As he turned his head, he inadvertently spotted Bilbo Baggins, the last member who had slipped through the net. Aaron quickly signaled to Nori, urging him not to expose Bilbo. Nori, not wanting to endanger the hobbit, obediently followed the orcs. As they crossed the wooden bridge, Aaron deliberately slowed down, keeping a few meters away from the orc team escorting them. When they turned a corner, he intentionally fell to the ground, causing a brief delay. The three orcs escorting him were momentarily blocked, separating them from the main group ahead. One orc reached out to drag him forward, but Aaron swiftly grabbed his neck and twisted it with both hands, silencing him instantly. Before the second orc could react, Aaron jumped to his feet and delivered a powerful blow to his head. The sound of the skull breaking echoed, and the orc collapsed to the ground. "It's your turn," Aaron sneered, advancing slowly towards the last orc. The orc, realizing he was outmatched, tried to call for help but found himself unable to move or make a sound. "The petrification curse, a simple spell, but it works quite well," Aaron remarked, standing before the petrified orc. Ignoring the orc's panicked eyes, he pointed his wand directly at his head. "Fracture," he incanted, and a white light flickered. The orc turned to ashes and dissipated. Aaron breathed a sigh of relief. He hadn't used magic in a long time, and it felt good to let loose. Surveying the area, his expression grew serious. The orc lairs were built underground, with countless wooden bridges connecting intricate caverns, all lit by torches. The structure was clear yet chaotic, with multiple levels and no obvious escape route. The sheer number of orcs, easily in the tens of thousands, was overwhelming. "Trouble," Aaron muttered, patting his forehead. He decided to find a safe place for Bilbo before rescuing Thorin and the others. In this environment, a hobbit was as vulnerable as a fish on a chopping board, but Thorin and his companions, being fighters, could hold out a bit longer. The orcs hadn't killed them immediately, likely imprisoning them or taking them to their leader. For now, the dwarves' lives weren't in immediate danger. Retracing his steps, Aaron soon saw a flashing blue light. Bilbo was engaged in a fight with an orc, wielding a short sword. "Just my luck," Aaron cursed under his breath, quickening his pace. Bilbo's combat skills were poor. He only knew how to block and was quickly overpowered. As Aaron approached, the orc pulled Bilbo and fell backward, dragging the hobbit off the cliff. "Just a few more seconds, and he'd be dead," Aaron exclaimed, peering into the darkness below. Without hesitation, he grabbed Bilbo's bundle and jumped after him. First, Aaron used a wind magic circle to slow down his fall, then softened the ground with magic to land safely. He had used this technique once before when he first arrived in this world. Although the result was not perfect, he was quite familiar with it. After landing, Aaron found Bilbo unconscious. Bilbo had landed on a pile of soft, mushroom-like vegetation and suffered only minor injuries. However, The half-orc who had attacked him wasn't as fortunate. The half-orc had no buffer and lay nearby, half dead and in pain with every breath. Aaron had no intention of helping the half-orc. Instead, he patted Bilbo on the cheek to wake him up. Huh? Bilbo opened his eyes groggily. Aaron, am I still alive? Yeah, you're lucky, Aaron replied. What about Thorin and the others? Bilbo asked anxiously. They were captured by the half-orcs. I'm going back to save them, Aaron said. Bilbo looked at him suspiciously. How do you plan to save them? I have my own way. I won't force you to come, but I am worried about you, Aaron explained. Me? Bilbo pointed at himself, then suddenly realized. He waved his hand dismissively and said, Don't worry about me. It's still safe here. You go and save them first. Okay. Aaron handed him the package Bilbo had left behind. There should be an exit here. Try to find it. If you can't, open my blanket. Of course, you can also open it if you're in danger. After speaking, Aaron turned and left alone, disappearing into the darkness. Swish! Aaron cast apparition and returned to the wooden bridge in the blink of an eye. He carefully climbed to a rock overlooking the half-orc city. While avoiding the sight of many half-orcs, he spotted Thorin and the others who had been captured. They were brought before the Orc King, a gigantic orc slightly taller than the trolls. If the average orc was disgusting, this one was revolting. He was extremely ugly, with bumps all over his body, a big belly, and flesh on his chin that almost hung down to his chest. The Orc King recognized Thorin, and after mocking him, revealed a shocking piece of information. I know someone has offered a high price for your head. As long as I have your head, your body will be spared. You should know who I'm talking about. Your old enemy, a pale orc riding a white wolf. Thorin raised his head slowly and said coldly, Azog the Defiler is dead. He was killed on the battlefield a long time ago. Do you think he is no longer a threat? The Orc King sneered. He then turned to a dwarf orc next to the throne. Send a message to the pale orc and tell him that I have won the prize. The dwarf orc scribbled a few lines on a piece of paper, pulled a switch, and sent the message through a cable to a dark cavern. Aaron watched the dwarf orc deliver the letter, his heart pounding. He knew some things should never be assumed, and Azog the Defiler was still alive. The Orc King felt he had struck gold. He sat comfortably, and the reward fell into his lap. He immediately ordered his men to prepare meat grinders and bone crushers. Azog wanted Thorin Oakenshield's head, and the rest of the dwarves would be served at a banquet. Meanwhile, deep underground, Bilbo looked at the half-orc lying on the ground, half dead, and hesitated about whether to finish him off. Before he could decide, he heard slight footsteps, which scared him into hiding behind a stone. A figure crawled out from the darkness. It looked like a child from hell, with gray skin, a few strands of gray hair, and a skeletal frame. But what surprised Bilbo was the creature's large eyes, which exuded a strange luster. The creature slowly crawled up to the half-orc and jumped up excitedly. Yes, yes, Gollum, Gollum. After examining the orc for a few seconds, the creature stood up and began dragging him into the depths. The half-orc seemed to know what was going to happen and resisted vigorously, but Gollum picked up a rock and struck him, silencing his struggles. Bilbo picked up a stone and threw it at Gollum's head. The action was perhaps too forceful, causing a golden ring to fall from Gollum's waist to the ground. Dirty orcs are better than gnawing old bones, baby, but talk is better than nothing, Gollum muttered as he dragged the goblin away. Once Gollum was out of sight, Bilbo emerged from behind the stone and picked up the golden ring. A lot of bones, baby, so little meat, Gollum's voice echoed from the depths. Shut up, peel the skin quickly, and start from the beginning. Bilbo cautiously approached with his short sword, which was still glowing blue, indicating the presence of orcs. As he moved closer, he discovered a vast underground lake. Gollum was perched on a towering rock in the middle of the lake, reciting a macabre poem while beating a goblin on the head with a stone. The goblin struggled in vain against its fate. Bilbo noticed that the short sword in his hand had stopped glowing blue, and he retreated behind a rock in fright. However, the brief flash of blue light had caught Gollum's attention. Realizing there was someone else present, Gollum gently rowed a dilapidated wooden boat towards the shore, approaching cautiously. Bilbo looked around, but couldn't see Gollum, causing his heart to race. He instinctively grasped the blanket on his back, the only thing providing him a semblance of security in this dark underground space. After a while, he heard the sound of deep breathing above his head. Looking up, he saw a pair of large blue eyes glowing ominously in the darkness, and he couldn't help but shiver. Gollum jumped down from the rock, landing right in front of Bilbo. "Thank you, baby," Gollum hissed, his eyes gleaming with malice. "This looks like a lot of meat." Chapter 245, Escape from Captivity. The Hobbit returns to the Team Ding. Gollum was about to get closer when Bilbo's short sword was at his throat. "Back, back. I warn you, don't come any closer." Gollum backed away, muttering to himself, "He has an elf's sword, but he's not an elf. He's not an elf, so what is he, precious?" "My name is Bilbo Baggins, a hobbit of the Shire." "Oh," Gollum exclaimed in surprise, "we like orcs, bats, and fish, but we have never tried hobbits. Is the meat plump and juicy?" Bilbo looked at Gollum, who was slowly approaching, and immediately raised his sword, swinging it to keep him at bay. Gollum, afraid of the sword, had to maintain a distance. "I don't want any trouble. Tell me how to get out, and I'll leave." Gollum knew the safe way to leave, but his mental state was unstable, talking to himself and constantly shifting between good and evil. In the end, they decided to play a guessing game. If Bilbo won, Gollum would tell him how to get out. If he lost, Gollum would eat him. Neither of them thought they would lose, nor did they consider not abiding by the rules of the game if they did. On the other side, the half-orc king sang proudly as his half-orcs pushed the bone crusher and the meat grinder over, preparing to throw the dwarves into it. Seeing this, Aaron knew he couldn't wait any longer. He aimed at the orc king, took a deep breath, and jumped down from above. Boom! A loud noise suddenly came from the throne, attracting everyone's attention. When the smoke cleared, the orc king lay on the floor, rolling his eyes, while Aaron held a knife to his neck. "Aren't you surprised? I thought you might not have noticed that the snitch was missing from the team." The dwarves burst into loud cheers, while the orcs who had been beating them were at a loss. "Are you human?" the half-orc king asked in astonishment. "What's the use of coming to my half-beast city?" "To save a few dwarves," Aaron replied, pressing the knife down half an inch. "You should know what I mean." "Of course," the half-orc king blinked lightly. "What are you doing in a daze? Why don't you let go of our honorable dwarf guests?" The half-orcs looked at each other in confusion, but did not dare to disobey the king's order. They retreated helplessly like a tide. The dwarves immediately adjusted their stance, picked up their confiscated weapons, and confronted the surrounding orcs. Thorin pulled out the beast-biting sword, turning to look at the orc king coldly. He remembered the previous humiliation, and now it was time to avenge his shame. This sword. The half-orc king watched the beast-biting sword come out of its sheath and couldn't help swallowing. His huge body trembled. "It's the biting sword that killed thousands of orcs." "Good eye, you'll be next," Thorin said. "No, don't do anything." Aaron immediately stopped Thorin. "If he dies, all of us will be buried with him." "Yes," the half-orc king grabbed onto this lifeline and laughed loudly. "That's right, you can't kill me. Even if you do, you won't be able to get out of the half-beast city." Swish! The sword light flashed, and Aaron cut off a lump of flesh from the orc king's chin. The red piece of flesh fell to the ground, and the orc king let out a painful scream. "You! How dare you!" The orc king looked at Aaron in horror. "Don't you know how serious the consequences of my death are? Aren't you still alive now?" Aaron said playfully, with a harmless smile on his face that made the orc king feel chills. He understood what Aaron meant. As long as he didn't die, he could make the half-orcs fight the mouse. However, the operability of not dead was very great. If he was lucky, he could be safe and sound. If not, he could be half dead. Understood? As a prisoner, you must have the awareness of being a prisoner. Don't be so arrogant. It will not do you any good. Thorin also reacted and looked at the orc king with a sneer. "It shouldn't hurt to lose an arm or a leg." "No, Thorin Oakenshield, you can't do that," the orc king said in a pan. "I see. It really can't be done." Aaron poured cold water on Thorin's hopes. "A crippled half-orc king is not a king. Do you think taking hostages will make them fear us?" Thorin glanced at the densely packed orcs around him and patted the orc king's face with his sword. "You're lucky." The orc king was nervous and angry, but didn't dare to say anything unnecessary, fearing he might lose a few pieces of flesh. What now? Dwalin asked. Let him lead the way and take us out, Thorin said. Keely, Feely, you two help Aaron hold him. The two dwarf brothers exchanged glances and approached the Orc King with their swords drawn. The Orc King stood up cautiously, with Feely and Keely on either side, their swords pressed against his waist. Any sudden movement, and they would stab him without hesitation. The group moved forward cautiously, surrounded by orcs. The Orc King, now a prisoner, had lost his previous prestige. Just as everyone breathed a sigh of relief, the ground beneath the Orc King's feet suddenly cracked. Before Feely and Keely could react, he fell to the next level. We were careless, Aaron said, slapping his thigh in frustration. They had guarded the front, rear, left, right, and even the top, but forgot that these orcs were also adept at digging holes. Ha ha! The Orc King laughed wildly. Everyone, kill them! Cut off the heads of the Oakenshields. Leave that human to me. I will torture him to death slowly. Damn it! Aaron yelled. Can you be a little more generous, Orc King? Don't worry about it so much, Dwalin said, knocking away an orc with his hammer. Let's deal with the current situation first. The dwarves fought hard, but were soon overwhelmed by the flood of orcs. Aaron's situation was slightly better. It was his first time seeing such a large battle, and he struggled to handle it. However, due to the Orc King's orders, he faced much less pressure than the dwarves. Suddenly, a violent white light illuminated the area. A powerful shockwave knocked countless orcs into the air, and the dwarves were crushed to the ground by the force. Gandalf slowly emerged from the darkness, holding a staff in his left hand and a fencing sword in his right. He looked at the dwarves, who were surrounded and had almost lost their fighting spirit, and said in a deep voice, "Pick up your weapons and fight." "Fight!" Gandalf roared, and the dwarves' morale instantly recovered. They yelled, picked up their weapons, and swept away the orcs around them with renewed vigor. "He is holding an enemy fencing sword," the Orc King said in horror, pointing at Gandalf. "The sword is as dazzling as the sun." Aaron followed the voice and saw the Orc King. He wanted to capture him as a hostage again, but the scene was too chaotic, and the Orc King had a certain degree of defense. Even if Aaron used apparition, he wasn't confident he could succeed. "Damn human!" the Orc King roared, rushing over and raising his scepter to slam it down on Aaron's head. "Who do you think you're looking down on?" Aaron said, holding a saber and slashing at the Orc King's scepter. The blade and the scepter collided, and the Orc King was knocked back a few steps, falling off the wooden bridge. Aaron's hands trembled slightly. The knife in his hand was just an ordinary elven weapon and couldn't bear too much force. "Come with me, quickly," Gandalf said. Everyone immediately followed him, running towards a hole. As they fled and fought through the intricate underground lair, Dwalin lifted a log and swept left and right. Keely set up a ladder and rampaged, and Bomber used his weight to destroy bridges. They used everything they could to forcibly cut a bloody path. Reaching a cliff, Gandalf raised his staff and knocked down an irregular round boulder. The group pushed it forward, crushing a group of orcs behind them. A wave of half-orcs was chasing after them. They didn't dare to stop for a moment and ran forward frantically. When they reached the middle of a wooden bridge near the exit, the Orc King suddenly jumped up from below and blocked their path. At the same time, more and more half-orcs surrounded them from all directions. "Do you think you can escape me?" The Orc King swung his scepter and knocked Gandalf back twice. "You have nothing to do, wizard?" Aaron drew his bow and arrow and shot the Orc King in the eye. "Aw!" The Orc King covered his eyes and looked at Aaron angrily. "It's you again?" Gandalf took the opportunity to swing his sword, cutting a huge gap in the Orc King's belly, severing a third of his body. "Wizard," the Orc King knelt on the wooden bridge. "It seems this trick works." Gandalf wasted no time and slashed his throat with his sword. Half of the Orc King's neck was cut, and he collapsed on the wooden bridge, completely lifeless. "This makes the villain die by talking too much," Aaron said disdainfully. If the Orc King had been more serious, they wouldn't have been able to kill him so easily. Suddenly, the wooden bridge shook, and the front and rear ends creaked simultaneously. An ominous premonition emerged in Aaron's heart. He glanced down and found that it was an abyss, causing him to suck in a breath of cold air. "Hey! Next time you kill someone, pay attention to the occasion. Aaron patted Gandalf on the shoulder, squeezing out a smile that was uglier than crying. He then hugged a solid piece of wood tightly. "Don't just stand there. Hold on tight. It's going downhill." The dwarves were still a little confused, but Gandalf reacted quickly. "Hurry up." The next moment, the wooden bridge broke, and the expedition team fell with it. As the broken bridge fell, it hit back and forth on the cliffs on both sides. In the process, the planks of the bridge deck split like tofu, and the dwarves shouted in panic. The broken bridge was badly damaged when it hit the ground, and the dwarves were buried in the wooden ruins. Luckily, everyone was safe. Aaron let go of his hands, jumped off the broken bridge, and patted the dust off his body as if nothing had happened. No danger, safe landing. Gandalf also crawled out, staggering a few times before he managed to stand still. "Not too bad," Beaufort said. The body of the Orc King suddenly fell down, and the huge weight made the broken bridge even more unbearable. The pressure on the dwarves increased significantly, making their situation miserable. "Nonsense, you are joking," Dwalin said angrily. "This incident tells us not to be too happy," Aaron laughed. The dwarves had just crawled out, and before they could catch their breath, dense roars came from above. They saw the half-orcs chasing down the mountain wall, an endless wave of them. "Is this okay too?" Aaron said, wide-eyed. "They're outnumbered. We're no match," Devlin said. "The only thing that can kill us is the sun," Gandalf said hastily. "Run." Gandalf led Aaron and the dwarves to run wildly along a path. Finally, they saw light not far away. The strength of these half-orcs would drop sharply in daylight, and they wouldn't move during the day. As long as they passed through the front hole, they would be safe. The group did not stop after rushing out of the cave, but continued to run forward. They only stopped after making sure they were far away from the orcs' lair. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Bifur, Beaufort, 10, Feely, Keely, 12, and Bomber, 13. Gandalf counted the number, and then noticed that Bilbo Baggins was missing. "Where's Bilbo?" asked Gandalf anxiously. "Where's our hobbit?" "Curse the halfling, now he's gone," said Dwalin dismissively. "I thought he was with Dory." "Don't blame me," Dory said innocently. "Where did you last see him?" "When he was caught the first time, he took the opportunity to slip away," Nori said. "And then?" Gandalf asked, his voice filled with concern. Thorin stood up, his face stern. "Baggins ran away when he saw his chance. When he left home, he was probably thinking of a soft bed and a warm fireplace." Aaron raised his right hand awkwardly. "Things might not be as you think. It's true that Bilbo considered leaving the team, but that's only human nature." "I think," Gandalf interrupted. "Aaron, do you know where our hobbit is?" Aaron nodded slightly. "If nothing else has happened, he should be somewhere underground in our half-beast city. Also, I must correct you, he didn't just run away when he saw an opportunity." Thorin's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" "You came to rescue us when we were captured, but we didn't see him at all." Aaron sighed. "He wanted to save you, but he wasn't capable enough. When I was captured the first time, I managed to kill 3 orcs who were holding me. I intended to get Bilbo to safety first, but when I returned, I found him fighting an orc and falling off a cliff with it. Don't worry, though. I've checked, and he's not hurt. The first thing he did after waking up was to ask about your safety." Gandalf took a deep breath. "We must go and get him back." "No," Aaron replied. "I left him something to keep him safe." "I'm talking about bringing him back," Gandalf insisted, tapping the ground with his staff. "Our team needs hobbits, understand?" "I completely understand," Aaron said solemnly. "That's why I gave him the right to choose. Bilbo can come back whenever he wants." Gandalf was silent for a few moments, about to speak when Bilbo suddenly jumped out from behind a tree. "I do miss my soft bed and fireplace," Bilbo admitted, "but I don't want to leave the expedition just yet." "Bilbo Baggins," Gandalf said, stepping forward with relief, "you are the happiest surprise in my life." Bilbo shrugged, took off the package on his back, and handed a dark blue blanket to Aaron. "It's better to return this to its original owner." Aaron raised his eyebrows as he took it. "How did you get out?" Bilbo laughed and discreetly slipped a golden ring into his pocket. How did he get out? It felt like a dream. He had played a guessing game with Gollum. After a few rounds, they were tied, so he asked Gollum to guess what was in his pocket. Gollum, mentally unstable, attacked him without guessing, forcing Bilbo to flee. During his escape, he accidentally put on the ring, gained the ability of invisibility, and happened to meet the members of the expedition team who were avoiding the orcs. They escaped together in a daze. Chapter 246. Azog the Destroyer. Gandalf caught a glimpse of the golden ring, his face becoming serious instantly before quickly recovering. He smiled as if nothing had happened. "That's not important. He's back. I won't run halfway this time," Aaron asked meaningfully. "He will not," Gandalf assured. "I want to know, why did you come back?" Thorin looked at Bilbo in bewilderment. He hadn't stopped Bilbo from leaving when they were in the cave because he didn't think Bilbo was suitable for the expedition. It would have been good for both parties if he had left early. Thorin believed Bilbo felt the same way, but now Bilbo chose to stay, which confused him. "I know you've always questioned me. I miss Bag End, my books, my chairs, and the garden where I belong. But I came back because you don't have a home. Yours has been taken away, and I am willing to help you get it back." Aaron applauded enthusiastically and then gave Bilbo a big hug. "It's touching. I knew you wouldn't let me down." Thorin fell silent, and the other dwarves were also inexplicably moved, their hearts softening. Sensing the improved atmosphere in the team, Gandalf smiled in relief. At that moment, the howling of wolves suddenly came from a distance, causing everyone's hearts to skip a beat. "It must be a wolf spy," Aaron said, rubbing his head tiredly. "I almost forgot. The Orc King spread the news that we were caught. Although the news is outdated, it is not too late for Azog." "It's really one wave after another," Gandalf murmured, then yelled for everyone to run. A pack of wolves rushed down from the mountain. The woods were their battlefield, and they chased the group relentlessly. Everyone fought as they fled, soon reaching the edge of a cliff. Aaron looked at several huge pine trees on the cliff's edge and climbed up without saying a word. The others, showing their flexible physiques, quickly climbed up the treetops, even the fattest bomber. "Wolves can't climb trees, but half-orcs definitely can," Aaron said solemnly to Gandalf. "You have to find a way. We can't sit still." "Ha!" Gandalf's eyes twitched slightly. "Wizards are not omnipotent. Now we can only adapt to the situation. I hope Lady Luck is on our side." Aaron was speechless. This gray-robed wizard was reliable when he was reliable, but when he wasn't, he couldn't be counted on at all. Was it really going to be exposed this time? Even if he was exposed, he wasn't an opponent of an army. Moreover, he had already shown his face in front of several decent bosses. If he came into the sight of the villain again, it would be a lot of trouble, and he might be targeted specifically. Thinking of this, Aaron couldn't help shivering, but the current situation was beyond his control, and he couldn't be vague when it was time to make a move. He couldn't just watch these dwarves die in the mouths of wolves. Dozens of wargs surrounded the pine trees, but they did not rush to attack. Gandalf saw a butterfly on a branch, his eyes lighting up immediately. He hooked it with his magic wand, whispered to it, and let it fly. "What are you doing?" Aaron asked suspiciously. "Nothing," Gandalf shook his head. "I don't believe it," Aaron complained silently. At this time, Gandalf would never do meaningless things. "I hope the half-orcs who came are just minions. Otherwise, we are really in danger this time." "Nimma, I'm really afraid of something." A white wolf appeared not far away, and on its back was a pale half-orc. Although it was the first time seeing him, Aaron was very sure that the one who came was Azog the Destroyer, not only because his skin color and build were completely different from other orcs, but also because of the aura of menace that surrounded him. Azog's left arm was covered with barbed black iron claws. Thorin looked at the pale orc in disbelief, and a surge of national and familial hatred quickly rushed to his heart. "Azog," Thorin muttered, his voice filled with a mix of shock and anger. Azog took a deep breath, lowered his body, and gently stroked the white wall, left beside him. "Do you smell it? The smell of fear. I remember the stench of fear on your father, Thorin, son of Thrain." Hearing this, Thorin's heart felt as if it had been struck by a thunderbolt. Although he had always feared that his father had perished during the war in Moria, he had clung to a sliver of hope that his father might still be alive. But now, Azog had shattered that hope, leaving Thorin feeling utterly alone in his lineage. "That dwarf is mine," Azog declared, pointing at Thorin. "Kill all the others." The wargs, receiving their orders, leaped at the pine tree with frenzied energy. They lunged forward, their jaws snapping viciously. Although they couldn't climb trees, their incredible jumping ability made the situation dire for everyone. The wargs' fangs came dangerously close to the expedition members' bodies, and the relentless assault began to uproot the pine tree, causing it to tilt precariously. As the tree began to fall, the members of the expedition team quickly grabbed onto the branches of a neighboring tree and leaped to safety. They dared not relax, knowing that falling to the ground would mean certain death at the jaws of the wolves. After several difficult maneuvers, the entire team found themselves on a pine tree at the edge of a cliff. The tree was already overwhelmed, and now it's even worse, Aaron sighed. "Stop talking nonsense," Gandalf snapped, looking at Aaron anxiously. "Is there anything you can do? Don't think too highly of me. I'm just a 13-year-old child," Aaron replied, subconsciously touching the blanket behind him. He then took out his bow and arrow and began shooting at the wolves below. A few wargs were killed, but their situation did not improve. Instead, it only seemed to provoke the wolves further. The wargs attacked with even more ferocity, and the branches began to break under their weight. The giant tree was soon split in half, leaving the expedition team with fewer and fewer places to stand. "I have only 2 arrows left. Once they're gone, we'll have to resort to swords and hammers," Aaron said. "No, we have other weapons," Gandalf interjected. He picked a pine cone the size of a brick, set it on fire with his staff, and threw it among the wolves. The wild beasts, terrified of the flames, retreated. The dwarves quickly followed Gandalf's lead, setting fire to more pine cones and hurling them at the wargs. The flames spread rapidly, igniting the surrounding trees and grass. Dozens of wolves were forced to flee in panic. The dwarves cheered, but Aaron and Gandalf remained concerned. They knew the fire had not caused significant damage to the wolves, and once the flames died down, the wolves would return to kill them. Aaron took a deep breath. "Bilbo, help me." "What are you going to do?" Bilbo asked. "You're good at throwing chestnuts, right? Then throw a flaming pine cone at Azog. Aim carefully. This might be our only chance of survival." Bilbo glanced at Gandalf, who was silent for a moment before handing him a flaming pine cone. Bilbo hurled the fireball at the pale orc with all his might, and Aaron simultaneously shot his second-to-last arrow. The silver arrow struck the pine cone, causing it to explode into countless sparks above the orcs' heads, instantly igniting the trees around them. The wargs, already frightened by the flames, were thrown into further disarray. 1/3 of them fled in an instant, while the remaining 2/3 were forcibly controlled by more than 20 orcs. The white wolf also took a few steps back, and Azog, on its back, roared in anger. Seizing the opportunity, Aaron shot his last arrow. Under the cover of the blazing flames, the sharp, piercing sound of the arrow quickly approached Azog, the destroyer, piercing his throat. However, the opponent was experienced in many battles, and as the arrow approached, Azog's instincts kicked in. He lowered his head subconsciously and raised the iron claw on his left arm. Ding! Brilliant sparks exploded as the silver arrow missed by half an inch, leaving a bloodstain on Azog's back. Ah! Azog roared angrily, feeling that he had narrowly escaped death. "Good shot, Gaius, great shot," Thorin exclaimed excitedly. Nothing thrilled him more than seeing his enemies powerless and furious. Aaron, however, was not pleased. His quiver was empty, and the last arrow had not achieved the desired effect. Azog picked up the silver arrow from the ground, his expression ferocious as he stared coldly at Aaron. "Elf? No, you're not an elf, and you're not a half-blood. Are you human?" Azog questioned. Aaron nodded awkwardly. "Aaron Gaius, an ordinary human shooter." "Really?" Azog sneered, pointing his weapon at Aaron. "Leave me the oak shield and this human named Gaius, and I will take their heads and hands as trophies." Aaron swallowed hard. "It's a good idea, but unfortunately, you won't have this opportunity." At that moment, the pine tree beneath their feet suddenly shook and began to fall towards the cliff. Half of its roots were out of the ground, and it precariously hung at a 40-degree angle over the edge. Uli slipped, but as he fell, he grabbed Doli's foot, barely saving himself. "Mr. Gandalf!" cried Dori, who was also struggling. Just as he was about to let go of the branch, Gandalf extended his staff and caught the 2 dwarves in midair. "Hold on, I'll save them," Gandalf assured. "How will you save them?" Bilbo asked anxiously. "This is a cliff, and we don't know when we're going to fall." My ancestors." "Now is not the time to talk about your ancestors. Please give a better reason," Bilbo urged. "I have learned rock climbing," Aaron said with some pride. "Although I can't guarantee I can climb down the cliff, if Gandalf throws them to the cliff, maybe I can find a foothold." "I can't do it," Gandalf gritted his teeth. "I don't have that much strength. Just hanging them is my limit." Aaron rolled his eyes. "You could have told me sooner." He climbed to the branch closest to Doli, hooked his feet on the thick branch, and hung himself upside down in the air. "Oli, give me your hand. Hurry up. Gandalf cannot bear the weight of both of you, and sooner or later Dori will fall if you keep pulling him." Hearing this, Uli hesitated no longer and stretched out a trembling hand. With Aaron sharing the load, Gandalf and Dori's burden was halved. Although they were still struggling, they could hold on a bit longer. At this moment, a figure caught Aaron's and everyone's attention. Thorin, holding the beast-biting sword in his right hand and a wooden shield in his left, quickly passed through the fire and rushed towards the pale orc. "Stop, Thorin! Don't be impulsive!" Aaron shouted anxiously, but Thorin, with the enemy right in front of him, wouldn't stop. "Stupid! Stupid!" Aaron yelled angrily. "I've never seen such a brainless idiot in my life." "Hasn't Thorin defeated Ussog before?" Bilbo asked, puzzled. "You said it yourself, that was before. Aesog's strength is not weaker than Thorin's, perhaps even stronger. With the determination for revenge, he also has a white wolf mount, dozens of elite men, and a group of wargs. What does Thorin have? A sword, a broken piece of wood, and a head full of rage and hatred. The strength between them is seriously unequal. Unless a miracle happens, this head-on clash will only lead to death." Bilbo froze for a moment, then turned his head nervously to look. As Thorin was about to reach Aesog, Aesog drove the white wolf from a height and knocked him to the ground. Before Thorin could stand, Aesog turned back and slammed a hammer into his chin. The white wolf opened its mouth wide, ready to bite Thorin. Even while wearing a set of light armor, the sharp teeth pierced Thorin's waist and abdomen. Hearing his screams of pain, Aesog proudly opened his arms and laughed, savoring the pleasure of revenge. Thorin swung his beast-biting sword and struck the white wolf heavily on the head. In pain, the white wolf threw Thorin aside, but it also lost the ability to fight. Everyone couldn't bear to look directly at Thorin's tragic situation, and Balin even shed tears. "Bring me his head," Aesog commanded lightly. A half-orc beside him immediately jumped off the wolf's back and walked towards Thorin with a broadsword. "Damn Falk!" Aaron couldn't help but swear. Aesog noticed him and sneered. "Don't worry, it will be your turn later." How arrogant, Aaron gritted his teeth. The contract hadn't been completed yet. He couldn't just sit and watch Thorin be beheaded. "Ori, close your eyes. I'll throw you down." "What? Stop asking so many questions. Just do it. And Dori, you too. Next, we need the gray-robed wizard." "You're not kidding." "Of course not. Thorin can only be saved if we free our hands. Trust me, you'll be fine." Gandalf looked at Aaron thoughtfully, suspecting that he had called for reinforcements. But his rescuers hadn't arrived yet. Was it right to throw the two dwarves down? "Thorin must be saved, please, Mr. Gaius," Dori said. Then he and Ori looked at each other and let go of their hands as if they were dead. The moment Aaron freed his hands, he reached behind him and threw down a dark blue blanket. "That should be fine." Aaron pushed hard with his feet and fell onto the tree trunk, a black wand in his hand. Just as he was about to cast a spell to save Thorin, he saw Bilbo knocking aside the orc who was about to behead Thorin at the critical moment and killing him. The remaining dwarves also rushed forward and fought with the orcs. Seeing this scene, Aaron blinked in confusion. Dori and Ori had been thrown too early, and so had the magic carpet. Chapter 247, The Giant Eagle and the Magic Carpet. Although Thorin was rescued in time, the situation for Bilbo and the dwarves was still dire. They were fighting and retreating under the siege of dozens of Gundabad wolves. At this critical moment, the butterfly released by Gandalf returned, and the gray-robed wizard finally breathed a sigh of relief. "Gaius, are you going to use magic?" Gandalf asked meaningfully. Aaron put away his wand nonchalantly and replaced it with the elf's long knife. "As long as I'm not embarrassed, it's others who are embarrassed," he thought to himself. "Sorry, I took the wrong weapon." Forget it, Gandalf shrugged with a smile. The reinforcements have arrived. The sound of eagle chirping came from the sky. Suddenly, huge shadows appeared in the clouds, and more than 10 giant eagles flew in from a distance. They were even bigger than the wolves. With their sharp claws, they grabbed the wolves and threw them off the cliff. With great force, they toppled the big trees and pinned down the enemy. A flap of their wings sent the fire in the woods rushing towards the orcs. With the appearance of the giant eagles, the orcs were caught off guard, and the pressure on the expedition team was greatly reduced. Including Thorin, the fighting dwarves and hobbits were all captured by the eagles, thrown onto the backs of their companions and flown into the sky. "So the giant eagles are the reinforcements you called?" Aaron asked in astonishment. "Obviously," Gandalf replied. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" Aaron said, exasperated, "Because I wasn't sure if they'd make it in time." Aaron rolled his eyes at him and jumped down from the pine tree. But what followed him was not a giant eagle, but a dark blue blanket, on which Doli and Uri were sitting in a daze. "Projects?" murmured Gandalf. "It seems that Gaius is more mysterious than I thought." As Gandalf spoke, the pine tree could no longer support him, and he fell, landing on the back of a giant eagle. "Doli, Uri, don't act like you haven't seen the world," Aaron teased. "We just didn't expect it," Uri said, still a little overwhelmed. "I really thought I was going to die when I fell." "It's incredible," Doli murmured. "Aaron, you still have such a treasure." Ancestral, Aaron said dismissively, and controlled the magic carpet to fly to a giant eagle, pointing to Thorin it was holding. The giant eagle immediately understood and placed the unconscious Thorin Oakenshield on the dark blue blanket. "Is Thorin all right?" cried Bilbo. Aaron checked Thorin's pulse and heartbeat, then examined the wound on his body. His brows gradually relaxed. "He's alive. The wound is not fatal. It just needs some time to heal." Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. If Thorin had died, they would have lost the core of their team, and the expedition plan would have come to an abrupt end. "This blanket," said Bilbo thoughtfully. "Did you give it to me?" "That's interesting." Aaron smiled triumphantly. "This thing can definitely send you home safely. Neither orcs nor trolls can threaten you." Bilbo nodded subconsciously. As long as he didn't encounter enemies in the air, he would be invincible with this magic blanket. "Then why didn't you take it out before?" Bilbo asked. "Don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming you. It's just that such a magic item could play a greater role. If you used it to travel." "This really won't work." Aaron shook his head immediately. "First of all, my magic carpet can't hold an entire expedition team. It's not that big. Secondly, it cannot fly all the time and needs to rest. Finally, do you know what overloading is? Right now, it can bear the weight of 4 people and maintain a certain flying speed. But if you add another one, such as Bomber, it might not even take off. To sum up, the efficiency of our team using it to travel is not as fast as walking. And when we set off, we had a group of ponies as mounts, so there was no need to take it out at all." "So that's how it is," Bilbo suddenly realized, and the other. Aris couldn't find anything wrong with Aaron's explanation. "Instead of asking me, you might as well ask our gray-robed wizard. If he could have found the giant eagle from the beginning, our efficiency might have increased several times." Gandalf took a puff of his pipe, only to cough as he choked on the smoke, meeting everyone's curious gazes. "Everyone, don't look at me like that," Gandalf explained. "First of all, we needed to decipher the secrets in the map, and the best way to do that was by traveling. Secondly, the journey should be meaningful. Otherwise, how would you have had the opportunity to meet Rivendell and find the lost magical artifacts?" "That's right," Aaron curled his lips in disdain. "We were almost eaten by trolls and nearly killed by orcs several times. But isn't everything okay now?" Gandalf smiled awkwardly. "The most important thing is that the giant eagles have their own missions. It's already a favor that they spared some to come and save us." Everyone exchanged bewildered looks, but Gandalf's reasoning convinced them. The giant eagle flew them all night, crossing countless mountains. Only in the early morning did they set the expedition team down on a mountain peak. Aaron put away the magic carpet and carried it on his back. Gandalf approached Thorin, placed his right hand on Thorin's face, closed his eyes, and recited an incantation. After a while, Thorin slowly opened his eyes, and his wounds healed miraculously. "Where are the halflings?" Thorin asked weakly. "Bilbo is here. He's safe," Gandalf reassured him. Thorin breathed a sigh of relief, and with the help of Dwalin and Killy, stood up. He looked at Bilbo gravely and asked, "What were you thinking? You nearly got yourself killed." "Thorin," Aaron interjected angrily, "I think you should be more polite. Bilbo was the first to run to save you. He doesn't have much fighting power, and being able to do that was an act of desperation." "I know," Thorin said, approaching Bilbo. "I said you would be a burden, that you couldn't survive in the wild, that you weren't worthy to venture with us." He paused and then hugged Bilbo. "I've never been so wrong in my life. I'm sorry I doubted you." "I doubted myself too," Bilbo replied indifferently. "I'm not a hero, nor a warrior, nor even not a thief." "But you played a greater role than any of them," Aaron laughed. "If you hadn't saved the soul of this team, it would be meaningless for us to enter the Lonely Mountain." "Lonely Mountain," Thorin murmured, his gaze turning to the distant, towering peak. "Our destination." Aaron looked excited. "I thought we would have to travel for months, but I didn't expect the giant eagle to bring us here so quickly." "Erebor, the Lonely Mountain," Gandalf said with emotion. "The last great dwarf kingdom in Middle-earth." "Our home," Thorin said with a smile. At that moment, a bird flashed before their eyes, flapping its wings as it flew towards the Lonely Mountain. "It's the dodo. The bird has returned to the Lonely Mountain," Oin said, aligning with the omen he had read, which meant the rule of the evil dragon would come to an end. "My dear Oin, that is a thrush," Gandalf corrected. "But let's take it as an omen." Thorin's mouth slightly raised. "It's a good omen." "True, I believe the worst is over," said Bilbo. Hearing this, Aaron subconsciously wanted to refute. Seeing the Lonely Mountain didn't mean it was over. Quite the opposite. Smog was the worst part. But looking at the smiles on everyone's faces, he didn't want to spoil the moment. The expedition team continued to move forward, but they underestimated Azog's determination to kill Thorin Oakenshield. The Pale Orc led a group of orcs, chasing them for more than half a month before finally catching up. The howling of wolves echoed on the mountaintop. Azog, riding a white wolf, looked down carefully, hoping to find his target. Aaron looked around, but didn't find anything, so he decided to drive the white wolf away from the top of the mountain. "Let's go," he said in a low voice. "Let's go," Bilbo nodded slowly. "We need to go back and tell Gandalf about them." Just as they were about to leave, a wild beast's roar suddenly echoed from one side. The two looked at each other, then carefully poked their heads out and saw a huge black bear. It was perched on a boulder, roaring into the distance with its massive mouth open, revealing a set of sharp fangs, as if searching for prey. "Gollum," they swallowed in unison. Bears were absolutely invincible to hobbits, even more terrifying than orcs. Aaron sensed something different. This was not just a bear, but a powerful, magical creature. Past experience told him that such creatures were very dangerous, and it was best to avoid them. Without speaking, the two silently agreed to speed up and avoid the black bear's sight. When they returned safely to the dwarves' camp, they breathed a sigh of relief. "How far is the enemy from us?" Thorin asked. "Very near, not more than a few leagues," gasped Bilbo. "But that's not the most dangerous part," Aaron added. "The orcs can smell us." "Are you sure?" Gandalf asked. "Absolutely not," Aaron said firmly. "The leader was Azog. Bilbo rescued Thorin from him, and I almost shot him through the throat. If he had seen us, he would have started chasing us desperately, but he didn't." "That's good," Gandalf said, looking at the dwarves proudly. "See what I said? Quiet as a mouse. Excellent candidate for a snitch." The dwarves responded one after another, admiring Gandalf's choice. "Excuse me, although I signed the agreement, I never considered myself a snitch," Bilbo said. "Bilbo Baggins, the hobbit, had potential, for he was light on his feet." Aaron added, "Also, we encountered a more dangerous creature. My gut tells me it's 100 times more terrifying than Azog." "What kind?" Gandalf looked serious. "Like a bear?" "Yes, almost, but much larger," said Bilbo. "You know?" Aaron looked at Gandalf unexpectedly. "What the hell is that bear?" "A skin changer," Gandalf replied. Aaron sighed. "I will never ask this kind of question again. I don't understand the answer. There's a house not too far from here. We can go there and take shelter," Gandalf suggested. "Is the owner of the house an enemy or a friend?" Thorin asked. Since when do we have the luxury of asking that? Aaron said, exasperated. We are being chased by a group of orcs and a monster. Who knows if it will find us? It's best if the owner is a friend, but if not, we have enough people to take the house by force. Everyone looked at Aaron in astonishment, and a few took half a step back unconsciously. Killing people and robbing houses? It's hard to imagine those words coming from a child under the age of 14. Bahrain's eyes twitched slightly. Your family education really scares me. Is there something wrong with what I said? Aaron asked, confused. Being kind to the enemy is being cruel to yourself. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it, Gandalf said, but it's difficult for them to accept. It's difficult for me to accept. Also, the owner of the house is neither enemy nor friend. A stranger? Aaron asked. No, he will either help us or kill us, Gandalf replied. Do we have any other choice? Thorin said in a deep voice. Before the words fell, the roar of the giant bear reached everyone's ears. Aaron spread his hands. At present, there is no choice. Gandalf led the members of the expedition towards the house. During the journey, they were discovered by the orcs. Azog immediately led a small team to hunt them down, forcing them to speed up. Roar! As they were about to exit the woods, the roar of a beast came from behind. The expedition team and the orcs stopped simultaneously, turning their heads to see a huge black bear roaring towards them. Azog saw the giant bear and immediately realized he was no match for it. Reluctantly, he abandoned his pursuit of the dwarves and led his men to retreat. This way! Run, run! Gandalf shouted urgently. Everyone snapped back to reality and quickly followed him to a nearby house. Pangbo, displaying incredible speed, surged from the back of the group to the front in no time. Despite his hefty weight, he demonstrated what true potential looked like, outpacing everyone in their desperate flight. Get inside, quickly, Gandalf urged, standing at the gate and counting heads to ensure no one was left behind. Just as he confirmed everyone was accounted for, a massive black bear appeared in his line of sight, startling him. He dashed inside without a second thought. Several dwarves were already pounding on the door, but despite their frantic efforts, the homeowner showed no signs of opening it. Let me handle this, Aaron said, rushing over. He knew there was no door that couldn't be opened with the unlocking curse. However, upon closer inspection, he discovered the door was bolted from the outside, indicating the house was empty. Don't these people have eyes? Aaron muttered to himself, but he didn't waste any time. He quickly unlatched the door and pushed it open, allowing everyone to rush inside. Chapter 248, Born Animagus Boom. Everyone fled into the house, and just as the door was about to close, a huge bear's head squeezed in. The dwarves blocking the door pushed it out with all their strength. Saved! Aaron breathed a sigh of relief. He then looked at Gandalf and asked, Is that the skin changer? Yes, his name is Bjorn, and he is the owner of this house. Sometimes he's a big black bear, other times he's a strong man. The behavior of the black bear is unpredictable, but the man still makes sense. Isn't this the animagus? Aaron's eyes widened in surprise. Animagus is a kind of advanced magic that allows a wizard to transform into an animal while retaining their magical abilities. However, this magic is very difficult to master and can take several years to learn. The number of registered animagi is very small, but Bjorn seems to be a natural animagus, and I really envy him. What animagus? Gandalf asked. Nothing, Aaron quickly replied. Anyway, Bjorn doesn't particularly like dwarves, so you'd better not show any hostility towards him. What about humans? He doesn't hate humans, does he? Aaron asked. It depends on the situation. Humans can be good or bad, right? But Bjorn would not harm a child. That's good. He must have been cast with an evil spell, Owen said firmly. Don't be a fool, Gandalf glared at him. No one can cast a spell on him but himself. All right, let's get some sleep. It's going to be safe here tonight. Outside the house, black bears prowled, threatening the surrounding orcs. Attack now and kill the dwarves while they sleep, one of the orcs suggested. No, Azog directly rejected his subordinate's proposal. There are monsters guarding them. We will intercept and kill them on the way. At that moment, there was a strange noise in the woods. A half-orc riding a wolf stopped in front of Azog. They are gathering in Dol Guldur, and the master calls you to see him. Hearing this, Azog gritted his teeth. He couldn't disobey his master's order, so he temporarily gave up the idea of killing the dwarves and rode a white wolf to Dol Guldur. Inside the house, there were grunts one after another. Aaron looked at the ceiling and silently opened his personal panel. Magic Energy, 8543, Intermediate Magister, the end of most wizards' lives. Talent, rare in 100 years. Magic Energy increases by 3 points every day. Items, Moondrop, can remove any negative spells. Resurrection Potion, can resurrect any creature that died within an hour. Magic Carpet, inactive Dragon Slayer Crystal. Looking at the value in the last column, Aaron couldn't help but sigh. I miss Hogwarts so much. After traveling for nearly 3 months, the mana points are less than 300, and the gains from signing in are not even comparable to the increase in mana. System, open them all. Okay. Magic, at transformation, 1,000 magic points, including animagus. At flight, 100 magic points. Flight speed depends on personal strength. At phantom projection, 800 magic points, allows distance projection. At charm, 700 magic points, but not valid for people with strong will. At soul departure, 500 magic points. Materials, at Phoenix Feather, 30 magic points. At Dragon Blood, 20 magic points. At Mandrake Root, 5 magic points. At Bezor, 1 magic point. At Rhino Horn, 3 magic points. Items, at Captain's Compass, 200 magic points. Points to the owner's most desired thing. At Magic Crystal, 100 magic points. With powerful magic power, can power the magic circle. At Invisibility Cloak, 1 magic point. At Jelani's Emerald, 50 magic points. Whoever gets the gem will be doomed. At Elixir, 2 magic points. During this time, Aaron refreshed them all from time to time to fill in some gaps. But looking at the few magics in the magic class, except Transfiguration, Aaron felt particularly conflicted. He wants the phantom projection, but can't afford it, and the charm is not very suitable for men, and the price is a little expensive. It is temporarily ruled out. Soul departure may be useful after the soul leaves the body, but it is meaningless now. As for the last flight, he is somewhat interested, but he brought the magic carpet here, so there is no need to spend on this magic for the time being. The category displayed a bottle of wine. Although it was not particularly impressive, it was better than nothing. Hey, buy Captain Jack's compass, Aaron decided, albeit reluctantly. Seeing his magic points drop from 3 digits to 2, he couldn't help but feel a pang of disappointment. He turned on the compass, watching the pointer wobble, and forced a smile. With this treasure, his confidence in completing the contract increased significantly. Once he completed the system tasks, his magic points would rise to 4 digits, and he wouldn't have to scrounge for them as he did now. Putting away the compass, Aaron settled into a comfortable position, ready to sleep. As he turned over, he noticed Bilbo playing with a golden ring. "What is that?" Aaron asked. Bilbo was startled and quickly hid the ring. "It's nothing." "I saw it, a golden ring," Aaron insisted. "I said it's nothing," Bilbo replied more seriously, then looked at Aaron with embarrassment. "I'm sorry, this," Aaron frowned. "Can I have a look?" Bilbo's face changed slightly, and he hesitated before handing over the ring, clearly reluctant, as if surrendering a part of himself. As Aaron picked up the ring, he felt a sudden possessive desire, but he quickly suppressed it. "A magic ring?" "I escaped from the Orc City thanks to it," Bilbo said excitedly. "It can make me invisible." Aaron shook his head and returned the ring to Bilbo. An invisible snitch is certainly valuable, but this ring's power goes beyond invisibility. It has extremely powerful magic, and even I feel a bit uneasy around it. For your sake, I advise you to keep this ring a secret. Don't let anyone else know you have it." "What do you mean?" Bilbo asked, astonished. "This ring has the power to deceive people. Most will subconsciously want to possess it and might do anything to get it," Aaron explained. "No way," Bilbo exclaimed. "Didn't you give it back to me? And I showed it to you. That's because my mind is specially protected, and the ring's magic has little effect on me. You, Bilbo Baggins, have a purer heart than most, which helps you resist its temptation. But avoid using this ring if you can. Otherwise, you might become its slave, leading to mental disturbances or even a split personality." Bilbo swallowed hard, recalling how the ring's previous owner, Gollum, often talked to himself, sometimes good, sometimes bad. He believed Aaron's words almost entirely. "Why don't you tell Gandalf?" Bilbo suggested. That's your decision to make. I won't interfere, Aaron said meaningfully. But if the gray-robed wizard can't resist the ring's temptation, I suggest you keep it to yourself, or destroy it. The next morning, the expedition members woke up one by one. The owner of the house, Bjorn, had transformed back into his human form, a middle-aged man with lush hair resembling a bear. Surprisingly, he wasn't angry about their uninvited stay, and even prepared a hearty breakfast for them. You are Thorin Oakenshield. Tell me why Azog the Defiler is after you, Bjorn demanded. Because of his arm, Aaron interjected, taking a sip of milk. Thorin cut off Azog's left arm in a fierce battle. Is that so? Bjorn pondered. You should have cut off his head. I thought so too, but he ran too fast, Thorin said angrily, then looked at Bjorn. How do you know about Azog? My people were the first to live in the mountains until the orcs came from the north. Azog killed most of my family, and some became his slaves, not for work, but for his amusement. He took pleasure in locking up skin changers and torturing them. Villains are usually so perverted, Aaron remarked. It would be abnormal for him to serve you with delicious food and drink, Aaron remarked, curling his lips. Theoretically speaking, your people are not weak. Why can half-orcs? They are, numerous and powerful, and they are good at intrigue. Otherwise, I wouldn't be the only skin changer left, Bjorn replied. Understood. Villains often use unscrupulous means to achieve their goals, Aaron acknowledged. You have to get to the Lonely Mountain before the end of autumn, and you're running out of time, Bjorn continued. So we must go through Mirkwood, said Gandalf. That is the quickest way. Darkness hangs over the woods, and rot spreads beneath the trees. The orcs of Moria and the mages of Dol Guldur have made an alliance. I will not risk it unless I must, Bjorn warned. Let's take the Elven Avenue. That road is still safe, Gandalf suggested. Safe? Bjorn expressed doubts. The wood elves of Mirkwood are different from other elves. They are less wise, but more dangerous. Hearing this, Aaron looked at Thorin. The elf he was talking about could not be. They are the ones who watched the dwarves' disaster with indifference, Thorin said coldly. Hey! Aaron's mouth twitched, and he looked at Gandalf with a smirk. May I ask, can we take a detour? I don't mean anything else, just want to avoid unnecessary conflicts. Gaius, what do you mean? Thorin said angrily. You know it. You didn't show much respect to King Elrond. If you saw those elves in the dense forest, who knows if you would fight them? No, Thorin gritted his teeth. I can still tell which is more important. Aaron rolled his eyes speechlessly. He had seen Thorin's stubbornness along the way. The credibility of his words was not even 50%. Personally, I would suggest a detour. I would like to, too, if possible, Gandalf said helplessly. But if you make a detour, you will have to walk at least 200 kilometers to the north or twice as far to the south. Hearing this, Aaron was also speechless. That means there is no other choice. You can say it this way, Gandalf confirmed. Even if you don't take a detour, it doesn't make sense. This area is full of orcs and their number is increasing. You can never reach that forest alive by walking alone, Bjorn said as he stood up. I don't like dwarves. They are greedy, blind, always ignoring those they think are less than their own life. But I hate orcs more. What do you want? Everyone looked at each other in blank dismay, and they all thought of the dozen or so horses outside. You can't get to that forest by walking, so you can ride a horse to head office. Bjorn did not refuse this request and generously lent them his horses. He even took the initiative to transform into a black bear to escort them all the way to the dark jungle. After riding for hundreds of kilometers, they arrived at Mirkwood before dark. The Gate of the Elves, said Gandalf. This is the way through Mirkwood. We were lucky there were no orcs around, said Dwalin. It's not that we're lucky, it's because we are protected, Aaron said, looking at the black bear on the mountaintop in the distance. If it weren't for Bjorn, our journey would have been much more difficult. Release the ponies. Let them go back to their owners, Gandalf instructed as he walked into Mirkwood. He pushed aside a vine and saw a red mark. Going to Rudolph Hills? Gandalf murmured, then hurried out of the jungle. Leave my horse. I'm still useful. Aren't you going to leave us? Bilbo asked worriedly. If it wasn't a last resort, I wouldn't do it. You have changed, Bilbo Baggins, Gandalf said, looking at him with relief. You are no longer the hobbit you were when you left the Shire. I have to tell you, I found something in the orc tunnel, Bilbo said, reaching into his pocket, wanting to take out the ring. But thinking of the crisis that might arise next, he finally decided to keep the ring for now. What have you found? Gandalf asked. My courage, Bilbo replied. Great, Gandalf raised an eyebrow. You'll need it. Aaron, are you interested in visiting the tomb of the Witch King of Angmar with me? Gandalf inquired. Aaron's heart skipped a beat. He recalled King Elrond's grave expressed at Scion when they had seen the Witch King of Angmar's sword in Rivendell. Without hesitation, he refused. I won't go, even if it means killing Baggins. Kill Baggins? I knew you would say that, Gandalf replied, exasperated. Then I beg you to protect them. Do your best. I can't promise to do my best, Aaron said, shaking his head. This dense forest is not only home to elves, there are other dangers here. I don't understand why you keep hiding your magic, but we're near the Lonely Mountain. Soon, we'll face the dragon, and you won't be able to conceal your powers any longer. If it comes to a last resort, I hope you will. I will act, Aaron interrupted, deep in thought, but I can only guarantee what is within my ability. Thank you, Gandalf said, breathing a sigh of relief. He then turned to Thorin. I will wait for you at the lookout city of Erebor. Take care to keep the map and keys safe. Without me, you won't be able to enter the Lonely Mountain. Also, remember, this is not just any forest. The air here is thick and disorienting. It will invade your consciousness and lead you astray. You must stay on the path. If you stray, you will never find your way back. Chapter 249. The soldiers are divided into two groups. As the guardian god Raven Gandalf departed, he left the expedition team with a crucial piece of advice. Stay on the road no matter what happens. However, not long after entering the misty forest, the team found themselves at a fork in the road, wandering aimlessly along a trail. I need air, Owen said weakly. What happened? Keep going, Thorin urged. I can't go any further, Nuoli said, pointing blankly at the cliff ahead. The road is gone. The air in the woods is turbid and disorienting, Aaron said, exasperated. Clearly, we're lost. I shouldn't have let you lead the team from the beginning. You didn't ask for that either, Bilbo replied feebly. That's because I'm not familiar with this place at all. Mirkwood is not far from Lonely Mountain. Logically, the dwarves, being neighbors to the elves, should have been able to lead the way. But it seems I overestimated them. We haven't been to this dense forest many times, Balin explained. Before Erebor was captured by the dragon, the elves led the way, and that was many years ago. Everyone, quickly find the way, Thorin said impatiently. Wait a minute, Aaron waved his hand. My personal suggestion is that we should not separate. It would be disastrous if one or two of us got lost. Find the way, but don't stray too far, Thorin instructed. The dwarves scattered, looking around, but to Aaron, they seemed to be circling in confusion. The dark jungle has too much influence on people, Aaron thought to himself. In the end, it will be up to me to stay alert in this world. Otherwise, they will be exhausted and unable to find their way. At that moment, a strange noise caught Aaron's attention. He turned his head and almost popped his eyes in surprise. Bilbo was plucking at a web, and behind it was a huge sleeping spider. Aaron immediately stepped forward to stop Bilbo. Don't move, he warned. What happened? Bilbo asked. Aaron didn't answer, but gestured for him to look closely at the spider web. When Bilbo saw a black spider leg, he backed up a few steps in fright. His sluggish spirit instantly revived. This must be what Gandalf warned us about, Aaron mused. I didn't wake it up, Bilbo exclaimed. Not yet, but we need to move quickly. I don't think there's only one spider in this jungle, Aaron said. Bilbo swallowed and nodded emphatically. The road ahead was not easy. As time went by, everyone's condition worsened, and they started to sway from side to side as they walked. To make matters worse, there were more and more cobwebs on the road, which was not a good sign. Look, a cigarette pouch, Owen said, picking up a pouch from the ground. There are other dwarves in this forest. And it's a dwarf from the deep blue mountains, Beaufort said in amazement. This pipe is exactly the same as mine. That's yours, Aaron rolled his eyes. We need to stop. It's not terrible to get lost, but the terrible thing is not knowing that we are lost and getting deeper and deeper. We haven't lost our way. We've been heading east, Dwalin said. Really? Aaron pointed to the canopy above. The sun was blocked by the leaves, and only a small amount of light could shine through. Please tell me, how did you determine which side is east? Dwalin hesitated. Ujin has the best sense of direction, and I followed him. Wonderful. He swayed more than you on the road. Aaron sighed helplessly, and was about to take out his compass to find the way. But before he could move, Bilbo jumped up to him. I've got an idea. We can climb up to the top of the tree to get our bearings, Bilbo suggested. I thought about it, but... Aaron looked at the dense spiderwebs on the tree. I don't think this is a good idea. But there's no other way, Bilbo insisted. We have to climb the tree. All right, Aaron shrugged. Thorin, you and the other dwarves stay put. Bilbo and I will go explore the road first. As soon as they left, Thorin heard soft rustling noises. His expression changed instantly. Everyone, be careful. Take up your weapons. We are being watched. The dwarves were brought to alertness, readying themselves for whatever might come next. Beyond my ability to save all of them at once, Aaron replied, his voice tinged with urgency. We need a plan. Bilbo nodded, his mind racing. What if we create a distraction? Something to draw the spiders away from the dwarves? Aaron's eyes lit up with approval. That's a good idea. I'll create an illusion to lure them away. You free the dwarves while I keep the spiders occupied. Bilbo took a deep breath, steeling himself for the task ahead. All right, let's do it. Aaron raised his wand, muttering an incantation under his breath. A shimmering light emanated from the tip, and suddenly, a phantom of a large, lumbering creature appeared in the distance, crashing through the underbrush. The spiders, sensing a new prey, immediately scuttled towards the illusion, their attention diverted. Seizing the opportunity, Bilbo hurried to the nearest cocooned dwarf and began cutting through the webbing with his dagger. One by one, he freed Thorin and the others, who groggily regained their senses as the fresh air hit their faces. Bilbo, you did it! Thorin exclaimed, his voice hoarse but filled with gratitude. There's no time for thanks, Bilbo replied urgently. We need to move before the spiders realize they've been tricked. The dwarves, still weak but determined, followed Bilbo's lead as he guided them away from the spider lair. Aaron, meanwhile, continued to manipulate the illusion, buying them precious time. As they made their escape, Bilbo couldn't help but glance back at Aaron, who was now surrounded by the spiders. His heart pounded with worry, but he knew they had to keep moving. Finally, they reached a clearing, and Aaron appeared beside them, his face pale but resolute. We need to keep going, he said, his voice firm. The spiders will be back soon. The group pressed on, their spirits buoyed by their narrow escape. As they trudged through the forest, Bilbo couldn't help but feel a newfound respect for Aaron. The mysterious man had not only saved them, but had also revealed a glimpse of his true power. Thank you, Aaron, Bilbo said quietly as they walked. We wouldn't have made it without you. Aaron gave a small, enigmatic smile. Just remember, Bilbo, some secrets are worth keeping. With that, they continued their journey, the looming shadow of the lonely mountain growing ever closer on the horizon. It was difficult to deal with so many. Accidentally injuring a friendly army was one thing, but falling into their clutches was another. What if I lure them away for you? Bilbo suggested. You? Aaron looked skeptical. I have this. Bilbo took the golden ring from his pocket. There will be no danger. Let's change it, Aaron mused. I'll lead them away, you save the others. Bilbo didn't argue. He put on the ring and vanished from sight. Aaron raised his eyebrows, then stepped out from behind the tree trunk and knocked on it to make some noise. You guys, come here, he shouted. The spiders, who were about to enjoy their food, turned their heads at the sound and then rushed towards him. Fuck! Aaron turned and ran, cursing himself for being so reckless. He had only intended to attract a few spiders away from the dwarves, but now he had the attention of many more. Taking advantage of the distraction, Bilbo quickly ran to the 13 mummies, ready to save them. But just then, a spider crawled down and stopped in front of a dwarf. It's fat and juicy. Just have a bite, the spider hissed. Bilbo swallowed hard, then took his short sword and slashed at the giant spider's tail. The severe pain made the spider turn back, but it couldn't see Bilbo, who was invisible, and was slashed several times in a row. Damn it, where is it? Where is it? The giant spider cursed in a panic. Here. Bilbo took off the golden ring and plunged his sword into the giant spider's head. It hurts. Hiss. It hurts after a bite. Bilbo drew his short small, oared sharply, and the giant spider fell from the tree. Sting, that's a good name, Bilbo decided, naming the dagger. Although it was far less famous than the beast bite sword and the enemy fencing sword, at least it had its own story. He glanced at the 13 wrapped cocoons, waved Sting, cut the spider webs, and lowered them to the ground one by one. Meanwhile, Aaron was running wildly through the woods, chased by more than 20 giant spiders. Human children are much more delicious than dwarves. He's mine. Stop. Stop him. Don't let him escape. Aaron felt like 1,000 curses were galloping through his mind. If he had known humans were so popular, he would have given the task of luring the enemy to the hobbit. Suddenly, a spider appeared in front of Aaron, hanging upside down. It opened its mouth, but before it could make a sound, a cold light chopped off its head. I'm busy running. Don't get in the way, Aaron muttered, swinging his knife and stepping over the trembling corpse. But after a few steps, more giant spiders blocked his path, and the pursuers behind him caught up. Even a few spiders were descending rapidly above his head. I didn't expect to be exposed so soon, Aaron smiled bitterly. But now I really can't help myself. I'll take a sip first. A giant spider let out a hoarse laugh and rushed towards Aaron. Hit the giant spider. What? A white light flashed, and the spider that rushed over first flew out and crashed into a tree. A wizard? I've never heard of a human child among wizards. How about taking it back and handing it over to the master to decide? Let's kill it. The living wizard hasn't eaten it yet. The spiders whispered among themselves, and Aaron couldn't help but feel a sinking dread. He was being discussed by a group of beasts about how to deal with him, as if he were a mere dish. Flying sand and rolling stones. A blue flame appeared on Aaron's wand, and another spider was knocked into the air, its legs shattered. Seeing this, the spiders stopped talking and attacked Aaron simultaneously. Spells were released one after another, repelling the spiders, but they showed perseverance and kept closing the distance with Aaron. The few spiders above did not adhere to any code of honor and launched long-distance attacks. The spiders attacked relentlessly, using their silk and webs to hinder Aaron's spellcasting and disrupt the direction of his spells. Gradually, Aaron found himself at a disadvantage. After all, 2 fists are no match for hundreds of hands, and here there were at least hundreds of hands. Just as a spider's fangs were about to sink into Aaron, he raised his wand high and invoked the Patronus charm. Expecto Patronum, he shouted. A pure white light spun into existence, expanding at an astonishing speed. The white shockwave radiated from Aaron, covering a range of several hundred meters. Under the pressure of this guardian force, the giant spiders retreated, hideous scars appearing on their bodies as their blood rapidly evaporated. Run away, one of the spiders roared. But the Patronus would not allow them to escape. The raven-shaped Patronus emitted a loud, deep sound, then flapped its wings and chased after the spiders. Though less than a meter in size, it was incredibly fast and powerful, easily crushing the spiders' heads and blinding them with its beak. The white energy divided into numerous parts, each accurately striking a spider. The spiders screamed in agony, a black aura emanating from them, only to be dispelled by the white light within moments. Their lives ended as the black aura dissipated. Meanwhile, a group of heavily armed elves in the dense forest sensed this energy. The leader, a handsome male elf, reached out to touch the white ripples spreading before him. He closed his eyes, feeling the energy for a moment, and then opened them with a look of surprise. "Anything, Legolas?" one of the elves asked. "This is a high-level spell with a pure source. It is not cast by an evil person, but I am not certain he is a friend," Legolas replied. "Everyone, take your weapons and come with me to investigate." Aaron lowered his wand, his breathing labored, but a smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. The Patronus charm was indeed one of the most powerful and ancient spells, even more potent than he had anticipated. However, controlling the Patronus to attack rather than simply defend consumed significantly more mana. This powerful move had drained at least 1/8 of his mana, leaving him feeling weak. Chapter 250, The Conflict Between Dwarves and Elves. Whoosh! Suddenly, an arrow shot out from the woods, But the target was not Aaron, it was the wand in his hand. Hearing the sound of the arrow slicing through the air, Aaron's body reacted instantly. He dodged sideways and grabbed the arrow with his left hand. "Who?" Aaron demanded coldly, looking in the direction the arrow had come from. The assailant remained hidden, but a second arrow was soon released. "Give you a face, right?" Aaron shouted angrily. He switched the arrow to his right hand and threw it back with all his strength. The two arrows collided in midair, producing a clanging sound. The arrow Aaron had thrown was split in two, landing on either side of him. Seeing the arrow fragments fall just a few meters in front of him, Aaron couldn't help but swallow hard. This was definitely the work of a master. The enemy was hidden, while he was exposed, making the situation quite unfavorable. Secretly, Legolas was also surprised that a mage could block his arrows, especially using such a method. "Who are you? What is your purpose here?" The voice came from all directions, making it impossible to pinpoint its source. "I'm just passing by," Aaron replied with a sneer. "I swear in the name of the Gaius family that I have absolutely no other purpose." "Gaius?" Legolas frowned slightly. "I don't think I've ever heard of that surname." "It's not worth mentioning," Aaron said. "Humph, no one can kill more than 20 spiders by themselves," Legolas retorted. "Luck, pure luck. To tell you the truth, this is the first time I've used this magic, and I didn't expect it to be successful," Aaron said solemnly, his expression revealing sincerity. Legolas didn't believe a word of it. If it were an ordinary spell, it could be explained by luck, but a super high-level spell couldn't be attributed to luck. "Well, I have other matters to attend to, so I'll be leaving now." With that, Aaron turned and ran without looking back. He knew it was unwise to offend the elves in their own territory, especially given the other party's confident demeanor. Walking away was the best strategy. Legolas, a female elf named Teriel, asked, "Should we chase him?" "No, Teriel," Legolas replied with a smile. He picked up an arrow and shot it. The arrow followed a parabolic trajectory and landed exactly 1 meter in front of Aaron. Legolas quickly shot 3 more arrows, lining them up with the first, with almost no gap between them. Aaron's eyes twitched slightly as he laughed at the roadblock ahead. "What does that mean? A demonstration?" "I'm just showing you the consequences of running forward. If you're not afraid, you can continue," Legolas said. Aaron patted his forehead. "Come out if you have the courage. What kind of hero hides?" "As you wish," Legolas said, jumping down from a tree and aiming an arrow at Aaron. "Wizard, what's your business here?" "I'm really just passing by," Aaron said tiredly. It seemed no one believed the truth these days. People only believed what they wanted to believe. "Really? Where are you going?" Legolas sneered. "You can't fool an elf with lies." "Sorry, I can't tell you that," Aaron replied. "Do you think I dare not kill you?" Legolas asked. "You would dare, but you won't. After all, I am only 14 years old. Elves do not kill children," Aaron said. "It seems that it is not difficult for a wizard to change his shape," Legolas said, pulling the bowstring tighter. Hearing this, Aaron felt a chill. No wonder Flo had advised him to hide his identity as a wizard before their departure. It was indeed inconvenient to reveal it. "But I'm really just a child. You have to believe me," Aaron pleaded. Legolas was unconvinced. Aaron stood unmoved, unable to believe that a young man's magic power and combat skills could be so exaggerated. He took a deep breath. "I don't want to offend the elves. Let me leave, and we can pretend nothing happened, okay?" "What if I don't agree?" Legolas asked. "Then there's no other way," Aaron replied, slowly raising his wand. "Guess which is faster, my spell or your arrow?" Legolas smiled and decisively shot an arrow. "Disarm." Aaron's spell knocked the bow from Legolas's hand, but the arrow also sent Aaron's wand flying. Both quickly recovered and instinctively abandoned their fallen weapons, engaging in close combat instead. Legolas was agile, and though Aaron was not far behind, the elf's extensive experience gradually gave him the upper hand. After more than a dozen rounds, Legolas pulled an arrow from his quiver and aimed it at Aaron's neck. "Hold on. Now we can have a proper conversation. Who are you? Where are you from? What is your purpose here?" Legolas demanded. "Please look carefully before asking those questions," Aaron replied with a meaningful smile. Legolas paused and slowly looked down to see a white wand pressed against his stomach. "You have a second wand?" Legolas asked, surprised. I'm cautious and like to be prepared. Aaron shrugged. So, do you want to try again and see if your arrow is faster than my spell? Legolas's face darkened and he sneered. Do you think you've won? Of course not, but sometimes not losing is winning, Aaron said. It's not productive for us to be at a stalemate. How about we count to 3 and let go at the same time? All right, Legolas agreed. 1, 2, 3. Legolas released the arrow, but Aaron did not let go of his wand. Humph, Legolas snorted coldly, as if he had expected this. Cunning human. Aaron smiled and put away his wand. I'm sorry, I apologize. I judged a gentleman with a villain's heart, but I hope you understand. I won't hand over my wealth and life to strangers. Legolas raised his eyebrows, now fairly certain that Aaron was not a bad person. A true villain would not have let go of the opportunity just now. Are you really just passing through? Absolutely. I just want to get through this dense forest. I have no intention of disturbing the elves, Aaron assured him. Legolas nodded thoughtfully. I trust you for now. Do you need me to send someone to escort you out? No need, Aaron blurted out. If he were alone, he would have welcomed the offer, but he had 13 dwarves and 1 hobbit with him. The hobbit was fine, but the elves did not have a good impression of dwarves. A meeting would be disastrous, and he couldn't explain it away. Why? Legolas asked, puzzled. Aaron's mind raced. This is my own journey, and I don't need the help of others, he said righteously. Legolas seemed to appreciate Aaron's resolve. My name is Legolas. What's yours? Gaius, Aaron Gaius. And yes, I'm really only 14. Don't be ridiculous, Legolas said, though he seemed amused. It can't be helped. The life of a genius is so plain and boring, Aaron replied with a smirk. Legolas chuckled. All right, have a safe journey. Aaron breathed a sigh of relief. It had not been easy to dismiss the elf. However, at that moment, a noisy commotion erupted nearby as the other members of the expedition team rushed over, shouting his name. Aaron's heart sank. Dwarves, Legolas said, his expression darkening as he looked at Aaron with suspicion. It seems you have something you didn't tell me. I can explain, Aaron began, but Legolas had already picked up his bow and arrow from the ground. Aaron quickly retrieved his first wand, ready for whatever came next. Elf, Thorin spat coldly as he approached Legolas, drawing his beast-biting sword. The others followed suit, brandishing their weapons with a readiness that suggested a battle was imminent. Calm down, everyone. Stay calm and don't do anything rash, Aaron urged anxiously. Thorin, there's no need for this. Put the sword away. Not until he puts away his bow and arrow first, Thorin retorted. Impossible, Legolas replied, his voice dripping with disdain. Don't think I won't kill you, dwarf. I'd be glad to. Oh, and how many arrows do you have? Enough to kill us all? Thorin sneered. Legolas waved his hand, and more than a dozen elves emerged from the shadows surrounding them. The sound of bowstrings being drawn filled the air. More than enough, Legolas laughed. What do you think? I can explain, Aaron said weakly. Of course, but perhaps in a different setting, Legolas suggested. Aaron sighed and placed his 2 wands on the ground. Put down your weapons. We have no choice but to comply. The dwarves, though reluctant, had no option but to obey, seeing the arrows aimed at them from all directions. Search them, Legolas ordered. The elves confiscated all the weapons and supplies from the expedition, but overlooked Bilbo's ring, though they took his sword. Lord Legolas, this is an ancient elven sword, an elf said, handing the beast-biting sword to Legolas. This sword is from Gondolin, forged by the Noldor, Legolas noted, turning to Thorin. Where did you get it? It was given to me, Thorin replied curtly. Not only a thief but a liar as well, Legolas accused. What he says is true. Aaron interjected sincerely. I saw with my own eyes that King Elrond gave him the sword. King Elrond? Legolas was momentarily taken aback. What proof do you have? My weapon, Aaron pointed to his elven weapon. It was given to me by Lind of Rivendell, King Elrond's confidant. Originally, there was a set of bows and arrows, but I lost them. If you don't believe me, you can send someone to Rivendell to verify. If they are not there, you can also go to Queen Galadriel. I have met her once. Legolas frowned. Take them away. The expedition team was finally on the move again, but under escort and in chains. Unlike Rivendell, the Wood Elf's palace was nestled deep within a dense forest, its interior a labyrinth of massive trees and rocks. It was dimly lit but still magnificent. The 15 members were separated into individual cells, with Aaron and Bilbo sharing one, while the dwarves were each placed in solitary confinement. It's not fair. Why do they get single rooms? Aaron grumbled at the elves' discrimination. There aren't enough cells. Is that reason satisfactory? Legolas asked. Fine. What can I say? Aaron conceded. You'd better think about what to say when my father sees you. You are not dwarves. For the sake of King Elrond and Queen Galadriel, if your explanation satisfies the king, or if you show a better attitude, you might be released. Really? Aaron asked, hopeful. False hope. Thorin interjected coldly. These elves are not to be trusted. They won't keep their promises. Legolas snorted but didn't respond. He had faith in his father. The cell doors closed one by one. When it was Killy's turn, he looked at the female elf Toriel with a smile. Aren't you going to search me? There might be something hidden in my pants. Maybe there's nothing, Toriel replied, giving him a long look before closing the cell. Why is the dwarf staring at you, Toriel? Legolas asked. Who knows? He's tall for a dwarf, don't you think? Taller than average, but just as ugly, Legolas remarked, glaring at Killy before turning to leave. After the elves had left, Aaron looked at Killy meaningfully and teased, You've got good taste, my friend, but you might be aiming a bit too high. What do you mean? Killy asked, puzzled. Take my advice and change your target, Aaron sighed. While I admire your spirit in daring to compete with the prince for a woman, it's a bit ambitious, don't you think? Your chances aren't as slim as you think. In terms of family background, ability, appearance, and personality, Legolas has you beat, Aaron said. Chili, unconvinced, retorted, What do you know? You're only 14. My mother always said that the miracle of love has nothing to do with those things. Aaron blinked and then gave him a thumbs up. You have a great mother. Bilbo, looking anxious, interrupted, Is this really the time to talk about this? We're prisoners now. Shouldn't we be thinking about how to escape? That's right, Dwalin agreed, slamming his fist against the door. Faeli, Oyen, and the others followed suit, but the cell door didn't budge. It's useless, said Balin, the eldest. This sent a dungeon built by orcs. This is the king's palace in the woodlands. No one can leave without the king's consent. But we do have a chance. In the Lonely Hills, there is something the woodland king craves. To some extent, we have the upper hand. Chapter 251. The King's Obsession with Gems. Legolas escorted Thorin, Aaron, and Bilbo from their prison cells to the throne room of Thranduil, king of the woodlands. In front of the throne, Thorin stood expressionless. Aaron and Bilbo kept giving him meaningful looks, trying to make him understand the gravity of the situation, but he ignored them. Thranduil rose slowly. His long silver hair and handsome features were typical of the elves, but there was a cold indifference in his eyes. Some believe it is a noble quest to slay the dragon and reclaim their homeland. I suspect the real motives are less honorable, perhaps theft of treasure or some other scheme. You have found the secret way, attempting to retrieve the jewel that grants dominion, the king's stone, the Arkenstone. Thorin's face tightened momentarily, but he quickly regained his composure. So, the Arkenstone is what you want us to find? Aaron mused aloud. What we seek is not a gem, but a throne. That's right, Thorin confirmed. With that gem and Thorin's bloodline, we might truly unite the power of the dwarf tribes. Thranduil sneered. To you, its value is immeasurable. I understand that. There is also a jewel I desire in the Lonely Mountain, white gemstones, as pure as starlight. I will help you. That's great, Bilbo said happily. You let us go first, and we'll give you the white stone when the adventure is over. Ha! Thorin shook his head. I won't agree. Thorin, Aaron said warily, the white gem means nothing to you. It wouldn't hurt to give it to the king of the woodland, right? Don't you know the grievances between dwarves and wood elves? Yes, we all know. But there is a way to show goodwill and dispel old grudges, Aaron began, but Thorin interrupted him. I'm not that generous. Okay, Aaron said, forcing a smile. Then let's be realistic. We have no choice but to cooperate. Smart man, Thranduil said lightly. Thorin Oakenshield, you should learn from them. I promise you, in the name of the king, as long as you return my gem to me, I will let you go immediately. Additionally, I will provide you with enough help, weapons, food, and even ensure you travel unimpeded until you reach the Lonely Mountain. Hearing this, Bilbo and Aaron felt a glimmer of hope. The journey had been harsh, filled with constant danger. A little ease would be a welcome change. It sounds good, very tempting, Thorin said, his voice suddenly serious. But I don't trust you, Thranduil. A great king keeps his promises, even to the end. You, Thorin yelled at Thranduil, have no honor. Legolas immediately drew his sword and placed it at Thorin's neck. Watch your tone, dwarf. Legolas, Thranduil commanded, waving his hand. Legolas glared at Thorin but sheathed his sword. I have witnessed your betrayal firsthand. Once we were starving and sought your help, but you turned away. You abandoned my people to their suffering, Thorin spat. May you die in flames. Don't mention Dragonburn to me, Thranduil said, stepping closer to Thorin and looking him in the eye. I know its destructive power. As he spoke, half of Thranduil's face became dry and festering, devoid of any blood. The sight made everyone gasp. Father, you, Legolas said in disbelief. I have faced the dragon of the north, and this is the price, Thranduil explained as his face returned to normal. I warned your grandfather of the consequences of his greed, but he refused to listen, stubbornly believing that the rule of the dwarves was indestructible. You are just like him. Thranduil waved his hand, and several elf guards approached to escort them back to their cells. Stay there until you reconsider. Stay here if you want, until you rot. For elves, 100 years is but a moment. I'm patient, and I can wait. Wait. Aaron gently patted the hand gripping his arm, looking at Thranduil awkwardly but politely. His stubbornness is his business. It has nothing to do with us. Humans and hobbits have no grievance with the elves. Yes, that's it, added Bilbo hastily. We'll try to convince Thorin. Go ahead. Thranduil's impatience was evident. I'll wait for Oakenshield to change his mind. Wait, Aaron repeated. How about we change the deal? Let us go, and I'll help you heal half of your face. Are you serious? Legolas was visibly moved. He naturally wanted his father to restore his appearance. Thranduil looked deeply at Aaron. Why should I trust you? The damage caused by dragonfire cannot be healed. I've tried many people, but nothing can be done, and you are just a child. But not an ordinary child. Legolas should have mentioned me. So what? A wizard may not know as many spells as an elf, and it's not like I haven't sought out wizards before. There is still a difference between a wizard and a wizard. If they can't do it, it doesn't mean I can't, Aaron said meaningfully. Just say it. Do you agree to this deal or not? Thranduil pondered for a moment. If it's as you say, it's not impossible to let you go. Aaron breathed a sigh of relief, but then he heard the word but, and the corners of his mouth twitched involuntarily. But what? He asked anxiously. But I can only let you and this hobbit go. Thranduil sneered and touched his face. If it were before, I would have agreed to your conditions impatiently. But after so long, I've become accustomed to this face. Appearance is far less valuable to me than the treasures of the elves. Aaron smiled, shyly. Understood. I'll think about it. The elf guards escorted the three of them back to their cell, but they were more polite to Aaron and Bilbo. After all, these two might become the king's benefactors, and there was no shame in their politeness. Boom, the cell door closed again, and nothing seemed to have changed. Has he made a condition with you? Balin asked eagerly. Take it, said Thorin. I made him wait for me to spit on his grave. Pull you down, Aaron said speechlessly. Elves can live longer than you. Even if towering trees grow on your grave, or even a forest, he will not have a single wrinkle. Can't you let go of your goddamn arrogance once in a while? That's right, Bilbo agreed thoughtfully. Thorin, we are prisoners now. Don't you? Thorin sneered. Men and hobbits have other ways of getting out of this cage, don't they? Bilbo froze for a moment, then turned to look at Aaron. You really have a way to heal his face? Aaron sighed heavily and nodded slowly. He had 2 bottles of potions with extraordinary effects. Whether it was the Moondrop or the Resurrection Potion, they could heal Thranduil's face. But using the latter would be a shameful waste. If part of the bottle of medicine was consumed, it could only be used as a life potion. It was better to use the Moondrop to relieve the sequelae left by dragonfire and then add some potions for long-term treatment. I advise you not to do that, Thorin said, or you have to be prepared for him not to keep his promise. I'm sensible because my trading partner is not Thranduil. Aaron yawned and leaned against the wall, bored. If I guess correctly, someone will come to me soon. Legolas? Bilbo suddenly thought of something. It might work if it's him. Thorin was silent at these words. He didn't trust Thranduil at all, but he did have a little confidence in his son, although not much. Even so, he wouldn't necessarily let us all go. We'll go to Gandalf, promised Bilbo. He may deal with the King of the Woodlands, and he may let you go. You're thinking too much, Aaron said, curling his lips. Thranduil may give Gandalf face, but as long as the stubborn dwarf does not agree. Bilbo glanced at Thorin through the cell door and heaved a long sigh. Is there no other way to free Thorin? Of course there is, Aaron replied. What? Bilbo's eyes widened in astonishment. Just as he was about to say more, Aaron made a silent gesture, prompting Bilbo to close his mouth. Legolas descended the stairs slowly and approached Aaron. Can you really heal my father's face? It is possible, but the extent of the healing will depend on your sincerity, Aaron said, glancing at the other cells. His meaning was clear. Though it felt somewhat unkind to exploit Legolas's filial piety, Aaron saw no other option in their current predicament. No, Legolas shook his head lightly. I understand your position, but you must also understand mine. Our king's desire for the white gems runs deep, and I cannot release the dwarves without his permission. Aaron rolled his eyes. Though he had anticipated this response, he couldn't help but feel a pang of disappointment. All right, then at least give me back my wand. That won't work either, Legolas chuckled, producing 2 wands, one black and one white, from behind his back. Do you think I'd be foolish enough to give you the means to escape? Well, would you at least return my sword? Bilbo interjected. Do you think he will return a weapon to a prisoner? Aaron said with a wry smile. Impossible. To their surprise, Legolas tossed Sting into the cell. This is fine. Thank you, Bilbo said, drawing his dagger and heaving a sigh of relief. This was his first and only weapon, one that had been with him for a long time and held great significance. Aaron was dumbfounded. What does this mean? Are you mocking me? Sensing Aaron's resentment, Legolas explained, He's weak, so it doesn't matter if he has a sword. Bilbo felt a sting of humiliation. Though it was true, did Legolas really have to say it in front of him? It hurt his self-esteem too much. Chapter 252. I have prison break experience. You've seen my sincerity. Now tell me, how can I restore his appearance? Legolas demanded. This level of sincerity is not enough, Aaron replied, seemingly off topic. Your Highness, we are still in the cell. Legolas paused for a moment. If you cure him, I will naturally release you two in the name of the elf prince. And what if your father disagrees? Aaron pressed. I might disobey him for the first time, Legolas said with a wry smile. Aaron observed Legolas's determined expression and nodded thoughtfully. I can see your attitude, but your promise doesn't mean much to me. What I need is practical action. Your father also made the same promise. In other words, your sincerity is only 1 dagger more than your father's. What's the difference between this and a white wolf with empty gloves? Legolas was silent for a while, then looked directly at Aaron. What else do you want? As long as I can do it, I won't refuse. First of all, you must return my wand, Aaron said seriously, his tone leaving no room for negotiation. Okay, but only after it's done. Secondly, let the dwarves go. That won't work. Listen to what I have to say. Release the dwarves except Thorin Oakenshield. Is this condition acceptable? Hearing this, Legolas took a deep breath. I will try my best to convince my father. Go ahead, Aaron waved his hand dismissively. Before I change my mind. After Legolas left, Aaron leaned against the cell door with a confident air. It's done. Everything is under control. Why are you so confident? Bilbo asked in surprise. Your level of haggling is not like that of a child. I'm professionally trained, Aaron said proudly, though his mood was complicated. Those cram schools were not in vain, but recalling them brought back bitter memories. Gaius, why didn't you save Thorin? Dwalin asked in a deep voice. Can you be a little wiser? Aaron gave him a disdainful look. The most important thing in negotiation is to know the other party's bottom line. Thorin is a treasure to the elves in Thranduil's eyes. Do you think he will let him go easily? I've tried my best to fight for our interests. What else are you dissatisfied with? Dwalin froze for a moment. In any case, we cannot abandon Thorin. I was wrong, Aaron said, scratching his head. I thought you were simply simple-minded with well-developed limbs, but now it seems you are truly brainless. You. What are you? If only Bilbo and I were let out, it would be the two of us who saved you all. But in exchange for the conditions I just mentioned, one of the 14 of us will save Thorin. Do you want me to tell you which one has a higher success rate? This, Dwalin stammered, hesitated for a while, and then bowed solemnly to Aaron. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Didn't you say there was another way, Aaron? Bilbo asked. What is it? What could it be? Prison escape. What? Bilbo's eyes widened, and he was about to shout subconsciously. Aaron quickly covered his mouth with his hand. Dude, take it easy. Don't alert the elves, Aaron whispered. Bilbo nodded hastily and said in a low voice, Maybe I misheard. Did you mean escape? Don't worry, I have experience. Give me time, and this cell won't stop me. You have experience in escaping from prison. Bilbo was incredulous. What on earth do you do? Sorry, I misspoke. I have no experience in escaping from prison, Aaron admitted with an awkward smile. But the second part is true. I am sure I can escape from here. How? Bilbo asked. Aaron hesitated for a moment, then looked at Bilbo with a smile. Although I'm not a snitch, I know a little about lock-picking. Hearing this, Bilbo raised his eyebrows and silently distanced himself from Aaron. My intuition tells me that it's definitely not good for you to tell me this. I just want you to lend me something so I can pick the lock. Bilbo smiled mischievously. With what? It can't be hair, can it? It doesn't work. I tried it when I was a key, D, and hair just wouldn't open the locks at all. Mr. Baggins, Aaron began. You really have a talent for being a snitch. Did you try to pick locks with your hair when you were young? Don't get any ideas. I'm not interested in your hair. I just want your sword. Sting? Bilbo was puzzled. What do you want it for? That sword can cut through the prison door. Otherwise, Legolas wouldn't have been so relieved to give it back to me. Aaron didn't respond. Instead, he spent 2 magic points to buy wine from the mall and used Sting to pick out the cork. Groin took a deep breath and licked his lips. Where did you get the wine? Groin asked. Don't worry about the details. It's not too difficult to hide something under the eyes of the elves. No, I mean this wine is too mellow. I haven't drunk anything like this in my whole life. Aaron, Oyen in the next cell stretched out his arm. Give me a sip, just one sip. Nice try, Aaron said, blocking the mouth of the bottle with his finger. If you drink too much, you won't be able to get out even if I open the cell door. A few of you near the entrance, keep watch and cuff if an elf comes. After speaking, he checked the keyhole on the prison door and peeled off the cork with Sting. Sawdust flew, and Bilbo stared at Aaron's movements, astonished at the quickly formed wooden key. He wiped his eyes in disbelief. How are you so proficient at this? Bilbo asked. As an excellent chef, both knife skills and carving skills can stand the test, Aaron said solemnly. Bilbo was skeptical, but couldn't find a reason to refute it. In less than 2 minutes, Aaron had a key in his hand, though the second half was still half a piece of wood. Now, it's time to witness a miracle, Aaron said to Bilbo, carefully inserting the wooden key into the lock and turning it slowly. Success? Bilbo was very excited. Although he couldn't accept this method, he had to admit it was quite satisfying to hear the click sound. Aaron nodded triumphantly, but just as he was about to open the cell door, he heard continuous coughing. Someone was coming. Startled, Aaron quickly pulled out the key, placed it on the wine bottle, and stuffed the bottle into Bilbo's arms. He then sat down as if nothing had happened and closed his eyes to meditate. Teriel walked down the stairs and stopped at the door of Killy's cell. She watched Killy caressing a black stone and asked curiously, "What is the stone in your hand?" "This is a rune stone. A powerful spell is attached to it, and anyone but a dwarf who reads the runes on it would be damned forever." Teriel was taken aback and was about to turn around and leave. "Maybe not," Killy said with a smile. "It depends on whether you believe in this kind of thing. It's just a rock. The rune stone was given to me by my mother to remind me of my promise." "What promise?" "I'll go back to her," Killy said, playing with the stone in his hand. "She's very worried about me and thinks I'm reckless." "Is she?" "No." When he threw the stone upwards, it accidentally fell outside the cell and was stepped on by Teriel. Next, Teriel told Killy about the elves' love for light. She is an Eldar elf and loves any light, but what the wood elves love most is the bright starlight. Teriel imagined the scene where she once walked under the starlight and Keely talked about the fire moon he saw. This conversation brought the two closer, and Teriel returned the stone to Keely. After she left, Aaron whistled with a half-smile. Keely, I take back what I said before. Maybe you can really snatch the prince's favorite woman away. Keely remained silent, but the upturned corners of his mouth and the slight redness on his cheeks revealed the joy in his heart. But I still advise you to be realistic and not pursue her. Why? Your races are different. Aaron spread his hands. Elves can live for hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of years, or even longer. But what about dwarves? As your lifespan reaches the same level, you're just a passerby in her life. All in all, if you don't have the diamond, don't take on the porcelain job. You won't be able to grasp it. Ahem, Bilbo coughed. Aaron, you make a good point, but it will all be for nothing if we don't get out of here. Yes, the key, Aaron agreed. He took the wine from Bilbo, pulled out the cork, and opened the cell door while everyone watched. A breath of freedom, Aaron said proudly. I told you this door couldn't hold me. The dwarves laughed, and Bilbo was even more excited. He was about to walk out of the cell door, but was quickly pulled back by Aaron. Don't rush. Jailbreaking is a big project, and opening the door is only the first step, Aaron said patiently. There are elves everywhere outside. If we are discovered, we'll be captured again. What should I do? Bilbo asked. Aaron patted him on the shoulder and said meaningfully, It's up to you, Super Snitch. Hearing the words, Super Snitch, Bilbo immediately realized he could use his magic ring to become invisible. It wasn't impossible to find the best evacuation route in this woodland kingdom. I'll find my way, Bilbo said. And the key, Balin immediately reminded him. The key to our prison door. Got it, I'll take it, Bilbo replied. And weapons, Dwalin added. We can't do without weapons. And wine, Groin said. It would be even better if there is food. Hey, don't go too far, Aaron interjected, unable to take it any longer. He turned to look at Bilbo, whose face had darkened. Don't listen to them. It's good enough to find the key and the way out, but if you can, get my wand back. Bilbo sighed helplessly. I'll do my best. After leaving everyone's sight, Bilbo put on the magic ring and became invisible. He moved carefully, not daring to make a sound. After wandering around for a long time, he finally found the elf holding the cell key and followed him into the wine cellar. Chapter 253. Galleon, you old bastard, we're almost done, one elf grumbled. Those empty casks should have been sent to Esgalos hours ago, and the boatman is waiting. Complain all you want. Our king has a bad temper, but he has really good taste in wine, Galleon replied. Come, Elros. An elf handed a bottle of red wine to Elros. Taste. I still have to supervise the dwarves, Elros said, taking out a bunch of keys helplessly. They are locked up. Where can they go? Galleon reassured him. Elros thought the same, hung the key on the wall, and turned around to have a drink with his friends. Bilbo squatted bored behind a big wine barrel until he heard snoring. He crept out, took the key from the wall, and was surprised at how smoothly everything was going. He found the exit, which was the passage for transporting the empty wooden barrels. This was also a wine cellar, which met Groin's requirements. He was helpless with weapons. Ordinary weapons were locked in the arsenal, and he couldn't get in. Even if he did, he couldn't take out so many things. As for the beast-biting sword and wand in Legolas's hands, he wasn't sure about getting them from the highly skilled elf prince. Bilbo quickly returned to the cell. The dwarves were amazed to see the key in his hand and did not expect him to complete the task so quickly. Find the exit? Aaron asked. Bilbo nodded as he opened the dwarf's cell. I found it. There are no guards on that road. If there are no accidents, we should be able to pass safely. That's good. Follow me, Bilbo whispered. The dwarves spontaneously followed him in a row, but when they reached the wine cellar, everyone was dumbfounded. The elf who was supposed to watch over the dwarves was sleeping soundly on the table, next to a pile of empty wine bottles. I can't believe it. We're in the wine cellar, Keely said, both excited and puzzled. Groin pointed to the empty bottle on the wine table with a regretful expression. Unfortunately, there are no ready-made bottles. You should lead us out instead of going deeper and deeper, Beaufort said depressingly. Is there a secret passage or a secret room? Aaron was thoughtful, as his family's wine cellar was like this. Bilbo nodded and then led everyone to a pile of empty barrels. "Climb into the barrels, everyone." "You're crazy, they'll find us," Dwalin said angrily. Just as Bilbo was about to explain, the voice of "they escaped" came from above. Some elves had discovered their prison break. "There's no time to explain. You must believe me," Bilbo said anxiously. "Please." "Do as he says," Thorin ordered, and the dwarves got into the barrels one after another. Aaron also got in and heard the sound of running water from under the floor, understanding Bilbo's plan at once. "Be prepared. There may be a dark river below us." "It's much safer to travel by water than by the gate," Bilbo said as he pulled the switch. The plank tilted slowly, and all the barrels rolled into the underground river. Just as Bilbo was about to go, the planks returned to their original shape. The switch remained on, and the guard's footsteps were getting closer and closer. Bilbo panicked and backed away, but as he took a few steps back, the plank began to tilt under his pressure. Bilbo slid into the passage below, but was still seen by the chasing elves, including Teriel. Pfft! Water splashed everywhere, and Bilbo grabbed a barrel to avoid embarrassment. The dark underground river led to a small waterfall. Their only means of transportation were the wooden barrels, and they could only drift with the current, moving forward with difficulty along the fast-flowing water. Seeing this, Legolas, who was chasing after them, immediately ordered someone to close the gate of the water channel. With the sound of a melodious horn, the elves guarding the dam pulled the switch, and an iron gate slowly closed. "No," Thorin yelled angrily, just half a meter away from escaping. "Ah!" Aaron sighed, shrugging his shoulders at Bilbo in the river. "It's not that you didn't find the right way. It's just that our luck is a bit worse. But it doesn't matter. We are still valuable to Thranduil. He won't kill us. But we will still be locked up. This time it won't be so easy to escape," Balin said bitterly. "It's not impossible. At worst, we will follow the previous plan. After we are released, we will find a way to break out. It's just uncertain whether we can reach the Lonely Mountain before the Day of During," Aaron replied. "Absolutely not. We have to find a way to open the gate and pull the switch before the elves catch up," Thorin said urgently. "I'll go," Kili volunteered, paddling towards the shore. "Where are you going?" Aaron grabbed his wooden barrel. "There is a team of elf guards up there, and you are unarmed. They could turn you into a pincushion with one shot." "What should I do?" Kili hesitated, then looked back at Bilbo. Apart from him, only Bilbo could become invisible and pull down the switch silently. "Me again?" Bilbo pointed to himself, speechless. "Can't you?" "My wand was confiscated," Aaron replied bluntly. He could cast spells without a wand, but there was no need to reveal that. "I believe that Mr. Baggins knows what it means to do more work, right?" Bilbo's mouth twitched. It seemed only he could do the job. "I'll do my best," he sighed helplessly, preparing to dive into the water and put on the ring. But before he could move, he saw a half-orc climb over the dam. "Ah!" Aaron shook his head tiredly. "One wave hasn't settled and another rises." "Be careful, orcs are coming," the elves shouted, abandoning the dwarves below to fight the half-orcs. But caught off guard, the few elves quickly fell into a disadvantage, suffering heavy losses. "Kill them! Hurry up! Kill them all!" A strong half-orc roared from a high place, and an army of half-orcs rushed out from behind him. "Who is that?" Aaron asked in surprise. "He doesn't seem weak. He's much taller than ordinary half-orcs." "Bolg, Orc Warlord," Balin said solemnly. "He is Azog's confidant. His strength is not inferior to Azog's, and he holds a high position among the orcs." "Overseer?" Aaron raised his eyebrows. "Judging by how the elves are being suppressed, he deserves that title." "It may not be just the elves," Thorin said in a deep voice. "If it's not the elves, could it be us?" Aaron's face changed drastically. Waterfake, as if to confirm his words, several orcs jumped off the bridge and attacked everyone. The dwarves fought back vigorously. Although they had no weapons, they could barely resist the attack with their fists alone. Bilbo stabbed an orc to death, and Aaron immediately took the dagger from his hand, defending himself with the crude weapon. "My lord, I take back what I just said. What kind of brain is this? Even if they want to intercept us, there's no need to do it in the territory of the elves. Wouldn't it be easier to wait for us to escape?" Aaron was furious, but he quickly realized something. "No, we are the main target, but he doesn't intend to let the elves go either. Bilbo, hurry up. We must get out of here quickly. I really can't do it now, Bilbo said, puzzled. If it was just a moment ago, he could have taken the risk, but now he was surrounded by a pile of wooden barrels blocked under the stone bridge, and the surrounding orcs obstructed him, making it impossible to act. I'll go, Killy said, jumping to the bank. He killed an orc, snatched his weapon, and rushed to the switch. A distance of more than 10 meters wasn't long, but 4 orcs blocked his path. Fortunately, with the support of everyone under the bridge, he reached the switch smoothly. However, at that moment, Bolg released a cold arrow. Aaron shot the orc in the right leg. Keely! Feely saw his younger brother lying on the ground, crying in pain, and felt extremely anxious. Damn it! Aaron cursed under his breath. I'll go check on him. Without another word, Aaron jumped onto the barrel and stepped on the shoulders of several dwarves to reach the shore. An orc had climbed up the dam and found Keely with his broken leg. Just as Aaron threw his dagger, an arrow struck the orc in the neck. Aaron turned his head to see Toriel, single-handedly taking down orcs with her bow and arrow. None of the orcs stood a chance against her. Their lives were taken as easily as chopping vegetables. What are you staring at? Aaron patted Killy's face. I admit she's impressive, but you're the one who was rescued. Don't you feel ashamed? I don't think so, Killy replied, smiling happily, momentarily forgetting the severe pain in his leg. Aaron sighed. For a lovesick fool like you, if you get married in the future, you'll probably be henpecked. Stop gossiping and open the gate quickly, Thorin said impatiently. All right. Aaron tossed Killy into his barrel and pulled the switch. The group was washed down the waterfall, swaying left and right in the rushing water. The dwarves are escaping, growled Bolg. Pursue them. The orc army immediately split in half, chasing the expedition team along the river. Aaron watched the dozen or so wooden barrels drifting farther and farther away, feeling dazed. They must have forgotten me, right? Whoosh! The sound of an arrow cutting through the air came from one side. Aaron heard it and decisively stretched out his left hand to catch the arrow. It's not so easy to get the drop on me. Aaron gave Bolg a middle finger, turned around, and chased after the expedition team. After running for a while, he jumped into an empty wooden barrel. Don't tell me you guys forgot me again, Aaron said, looking at the group. I knew you would catch up, Killy smiled weakly. None of us doubted it. Your complexion is too pale, Aaron frowned slightly. He looked at the arrow in his hand and noticed a strange touch of pure black on it. His pupils widened in realization. Killy, you. Killy's face changed slightly, and he quickly said, It's just a minor injury. I lost a lot of blood, which is normal. Aaron saw the pleading in Keely's eyes. After a moment of struggle, he threw the arrow into the rushing river. Chapter 254, Do Your Best to Detoxify. In the White Rapids, the expedition team struggled to control their direction and speed. Borg led the half-orcs in relentless pursuit along the shore, with a small contingent blocking their path, waiting for an opportunity to strike. However, these dwarves were elite warriors, each selected from hundreds, and many were veterans of countless battles. They ingeniously resolved every crisis that arose. A half-orc was about to float past Noli, but Noli dragged him into the rushing river with his weapon. Another half-orc, standing on a dead tree at the river's edge, prepared to attack Bahrain. Just as he leaped, Thorin's expertly thrown knife pinned him to the tree trunk, and the weapon fell into Thorin's hand. Meanwhile, a half-orc landed on Dwalin's barrel, only to be headbutted and disarmed by Dwalin, who seized an axe in the process. As they drifted several hundred meters down the river, the expedition team not only avoided losses, but also seized 3 axes and a knife, using these weapons to kill more than 10 orcs. When they passed under a tree bridge, a row of orcs stood on the trunk. The dwarves, displaying perfect coordination, chopped at the tree trunk as they floated past. After a few strikes, the tree bridge broke, and the orcs were swept into the rapids. The most remarkable feat was performed by Bomber. Carried to the shore by a half-orc with a spear, he used a wine barrel to crush a dozen orcs to death as he bounced along. When he finally stopped, he kicked open the bottom of the barrel, using it as makeshift armor. Armed with an axe in his left hand and a knife in his right, he killed several more half-orcs before jumping back into an empty barrel. Wow! Aaron exclaimed in amazement. Is he really a fat man? He's so agile. He doubled his record by himself. At the same time, Legolas and Toriel joined the fray. The reason the expedition team had lasted this long was partly due to the elves sharing most of the pressure. Legolas leaped onto the heads of Dwalin and Oin, using them as footholds to shoot arrows at the half-orcs on both sides. His exquisite archery was perfectly displayed, with each shot hitting its mark. "Gaius," Legolas called out in a dissatisfied tone, while still shooting arrows. He managed to find Aaron among a dozen wooden barrels. What's the matter?" Aaron replied. "I have made a request to my father, and he will agree soon. You should not have escaped from prison," Legolas said. Aaron smiled awkwardly but politely. "Do you think it makes sense to tell me this now?" "After you are safe, you and I will go back to heal my father," Legolas insisted. "Your Highness, you have to be reasonable. You locked me up for no reason and used my personal freedom to force me into an unequal deal. Do you think this is appropriate?" Aaron retorted. Legolas tightened his bowstring and shot 2 half-orcs through with a single arrow. "The elves will give you enough rewards, and you will also gain the friendship of the wood elves." Aaron's eyes brightened slightly. He had already gained the friendship of the dwarves during this expedition. If he could also gain the friendship of the elves, he would thrive in this world. It seemed that escaping and using the potion couldn't be avoided. "Your Highness, you're being unreasonable. I'll heal King Thranduil, but I must first complete the dwarven contract," Aaron said. "What contract?" Legolas asked curiously. "That's none of your business," Aaron replied. "If you don't tell me, I can guess," Legolas said. "I've had enough. Get your foot off my head," Dwalin said angrily. "Or I might just chop it off." Hearing this, Legolas stepped off Dwalin's head, leaped onto the heads of several other dwarves, and jumped to the bank to fight the nearest orcs. He was 1 against 4, but a 5th enemy appeared behind him. Sorin raised his axe high, ready to strike. In a critical moment, Legolas threw the only long knife he had, saving Sorin's life. Legolas watched Sorin drift away with a complicated expression. He had noticed the enemy behind him, but couldn't understand why Sorin, a dwarf prince who hated elves so much, would save him. As he pondered this, the last orc slowly pulled back his bowstring. Ding! The arrow shot by the orc was intercepted by an arrow from Toriel. She leaped and kicked the orc's weapon away, placing her dagger at his neck. "Toriel, wait! Don't kill him. Keep him alive," Legolas instructed. "Chase them! Don't let them get away," Borg shouted, leading dozens of orcs along the river. Legolas and Toriel were powerless to stop them and could only watch as they chased out of the border. A few hours later, the expedition team managed to evade the orcs and stopped by a slow-moving river. However, this respite was temporary. The slowing water flow meant their speed was decreasing, and Borg and his group would soon catch up. Everyone disembarked in a state of disarray. Keely, who had been holding on, screamed in pain and collapsed, his right leg stained red with blood. "Keely is injured. His leg needs to be bandaged," Bofur said worriedly. "A group of orcs is chasing us. We can't stop," Thorin insisted. "I'll do it. Just give me 2 minutes," Aaron volunteered. While the others discussed how to proceed, he approached Keely. "There aren't many people I admire, but you barely count as half of them," Aaron said. "Should I thank you for the compliment?" Keely replied with a bitter smile. "Why are you joking at a time like this?" Aaron said seriously as he bandaged Keely's leg. "Not to mention the poison on the arrow, the blood loss alone is enough to kill you. You might not survive a few days." "Can you save me?" Keely asked. "Maybe," Aaron hesitated before nodding. "I have a treasure that could help, but I won't use it unless absolutely necessary. Besides, we haven't reached the level of a life-and-death friendship, and even then, I might not use it for you." "Then why are you telling me this?" Keely asked, confused. "I want to be clear, so my conscience isn't disturbed if you die," Aaron explained. Keely was speechless but managed a weak smile. "I have a teacher and know a bit about medicine. I'll do my best to save you, but I'm only 50% sure. I don't know much about this kind of poison." "Thank you," Keely said solemnly. "Can you tell me who you are? For the sake of my dying. Don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't believe in you. Each of us does. But you are too special. You know a lot and are very strong." "We'll talk about it when you're dead," Aaron said, patting Keely's wound, causing him to grimace in pain. At that moment, the sound of footsteps approached. A human man appeared behind the group, aiming a bow and arrow at Oin. The atmosphere fell silent instantly. Dwalin picked up a stick and stood in front of Oin, but before he could move, an arrow shot through the stick. In less than a second, the man shot a second arrow, knocking a stone out of Killy's hand, and the third arrow was already on the string. Seeing this, Aaron was inexplicably moved. Do people in this world handle weapons like this? It didn't matter that Legolas was better at archery. He was an elf prince with professional training. But this man, dressed in tatters with no apparent background, had archery skills superior to his own, which seemed unreasonable. If you dare to move again, your life will be forfeit, the man warned. Everyone remained still. Balin quietly glanced behind the man and immediately felt relieved. Sorry, if I'm not mistaken, are you from Lake Town? Can we rent that barge over there? Balin asked. The man hesitated for a few seconds before slowly putting away his bow and arrow. Aaron, murmured Chili, anyone with a discerning eye can see it. No, I mean he's very short of money, but he's not a bad guy, Aaron clarified. How can you be so sure? Bilbo asked, puzzled. Even though he's alone, he has the right time and place. With his archery skills, it wouldn't be difficult for him to kill a group of unarmed and exhausted people like us. If he did, the money on us would be his. But he still chose to make a deal with us, Aaron explained. It seems that's a good reason, Bilbo conceded. The man carried the empty wine barrel onto the boat. Why do you think I will help you? He asked. Your boots are very old, and your coat is very shabby. You must have several mouths to feed, Balin said with a familiar smile. How many people are there? 1 boy, 2 girls, the man replied. And your wife, she must be a beauty, Balin added. That's right, the man paused. She was during my lifetime. The smile on Balin's face froze instantly. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Oh, come on, stop pretending to be a good guy, Devlin interrupted impatiently. What are you worried about? The man asked. Why do you ask this? Devlin retorted. I want to know who you are and what you're doing here, the man said. We are just businessmen from the Blue Mountains, Balin replied with a smile. We are going to visit some relatives in the Iron Hills. The man nodded and then turned his gaze to Aaron with a hint of curiosity. Don't tell me he's also going to the Iron Hills to visit relatives? Aaron's mouth twitched. He was about to explain when Balin interrupted. He's visiting a friend. Hey! His parents must be very trusting to let a child follow you through the mountains and rivers, the man remarked. He ran away from home and joined us on the way. You have kids of your own, so you should know that children's friendships can be quite magical sometimes, Balin said. The level of talking nonsense with a straight face is really impressive, Aaron thought to himself. And what about him? The man asked, looking at Bilbo. If I hadn't looked carefully, I might not have noticed there's another halfling in your team. He also went to visit his friends, Balin said, maintaining his good-natured smile. Although the Iron Hills is a dwarf kingdom, it's not that the dwarves living there don't have friends of other races. Chapter 255. Money is not important, but having money is important. We need supplies, food, and weapons, Thorin said, looking intently at the man. Can you help us? I'm in a hurry to see the doctor. Aaron shook his head, resting his forehead in his hand, feeling utterly exasperated. To be honest, he understood Thorin's urgency. They were about to reach the lonely mountain, and facing the dragon unprepared was akin to walking into certain death. However, if you need help, you should at least seek out someone with the means to provide it. This man was struggling to support his own family. Supplies and food might be a stretch, let alone weapons. The man didn't answer immediately, but instead touched the arrow mark on the barrel. I know where these barrels come from. What do you mean? Thorin asked, puzzled. I don't know what kind of business you had with the elves, but it doesn't seem to have ended well. Only the mayor can bring people into the town. Doing business with the Woodland King is his only source of income. To avoid angering Thranduil, he will likely imprison you. As soon as the man finished speaking, he began to pack up his things and prepare to set sail. He could bring ordinary merchants into the town, but these people were clearly not merchants. Bringing individuals who had offended the elves into the town posed a significant risk. Wait a minute, Aaron said suddenly, pulling out a gold coin from his pocket and tossing it to the man. "What's your name?" "Bud." "Okay, Bud, I fully understand your difficulties, but with great risk comes great reward," Aaron said, watching the flicker of struggle in Bud's eyes. "I have a child to raise. I can't afford to take risks," Bud replied. "Understood," Aaron said, snapping his fingers and placing another gold coin into Bud's hand. "Risks and benefits are directly proportional, aren't they?" "But if the mayor catches us, there must be other ways to enter the town," Aaron said, patting Bud on the shoulder meaningfully. "I don't think a man with your archery skills is just a nobody." Bud looked at Aaron in surprise, as if he had made up his mind. "How much can you pay me?" "We'll pay double," Bahrain said immediately. Meanwhile, in the Woodland Kingdom, Toriel and Legolas brought the captured orcs before Thranduil. After Thranduil finished speaking, Legolas began to interrogate the orc about his purpose. The orc was defiant, showing no fear of being a prisoner, but in a way, he was particularly cooperative. First, he revealed that the dwarves were going to be downsized and that Keely had been shot by a Morgul arrow and would die soon. This news made Toriel uneasy. If it weren't for the king's order, she would have killed the orc on the spot. The orc then disparaged Thorin Oakenshield, claiming that the dwarf could never be king. Legolas agreed with this point of view. As long as Smaug was alive, no one dared to enter the Lonely Mountain. Finally, the orc bluntly stated that the Age of Orcs was coming and that his master served the Supreme One. Hearing Supreme One, Thranduil's demeanor changed. Having lived for a long time, he instantly thought of many things and promptly beheaded the orc. "Double the guards on the borders, all roads and rivers. No one is allowed to move without my order. No one can come in, and no one can leave this kingdom," Thranduil commanded, effectively closing the kingdom. He knew that the world might not be peaceful in the future, but this had nothing to do with the Woodland Kingdom. As long as the war didn't reach them, he didn't need to participate. Although Legolas was puzzled, he had to obey the king's orders, which were also his father's. However, when he ordered the gates to be closed, he learned from the guards that Toriel had left for the forest in full armor, which made him uneasy. In desperation, he had no choice but to leave the Woodland Kingdom to find Toriel. Bud carefully navigated the boat, avoiding the thin ice on the lake, and slowly moved forward. "To do with me," the pale man said. "Why?" The sneer. "I am Alfred, the mayor's right-hand man, and I have the authority to inspect any cargo passing through this checkpoint." Bud clenched his fists but kept his composure. "I have nothing to hide. Feel free to inspect the barrels." Alfred's eyes narrowed suspiciously. "Very well. Open them up." Bud hesitated for a moment, then began to pry open the lid of one of the barrels. Aaron, hidden inside, held his breath, hoping their plan wouldn't fall apart. Just as the lid was about to come off, a loud crash echoed from the other side of the dock. Alfred and Percy turned their heads in surprise. "What was that?" Percy asked, alarmed. "Probably just some crates falling over," Bud said quickly, seizing the opportunity. "You know how unstable the docks can be." Alfred seemed unconvinced, but reluctantly nodded. "Fine, but I'll be keeping an eye on you, Bud. Don't think you can get away with anything under my watch." Bud forced a smile. "Of course, Alfred. I'll be on my way now." As Bud pushed the barrels back into place and continued down the dock, Aaron let out a sigh of relief. That was too close. "Indeed," Bilbo whispered from his barrel. "Let's hope we don't have to deal with that man again." The boat finally reached a secluded part of the town, and Bud signaled for everyone to get out. One by one, the dwarves and Bilbo climbed out of the barrels, stretching their cramped limbs. "Thank you, Bud," Thorin said, shaking the boatman's hand. "We owe you." Bud nodded. "Just make sure you keep your promise about the payment and the medicine." "We will," Aaron assured him. "Now, let's find a place to rest and tend to Keely's wounds." Bud led them to a small hidden alley where they could stay out of sight. "This is the best I can do for now. I'll bring you the medicine and tools as soon as I can." "Thank you," Thorin said again. "We won't forget this." As Bud left, the group settled into their temporary hiding spot. Aaron looked around at his companions, their faces weary but determined. "We're almost there," he said, trying to lift their spirits. "Just a little longer, and we'll reach the Lonely Mountain." The dwarves nodded, their resolve unwavering. They had come too far to turn back now. With Bud's help and a bit of luck, they would soon reclaim their homeland. Aaron labeled the man as a sycophant, feeling unlucky to have encountered such a person. He hoped Bud could handle the situation, otherwise he might have to intervene. Although he hadn't mastered the Imperious Curse, he was quite familiar with the memory charm. "Come on, Alfred, show some kindness. Everyone needs to eat," Bud said helplessly. Alfred, however, showed no kindness. He declared the fish illegal and ordered his men to dump them all. Despite Bud's pleas about the town's food and clothing needs, Alfred remained unmoved. Seeing Alfred's stubbornness, Bud resorted to mentioning the mayor. "What if people heard that the mayor dumped fish into the lake? If they revolt, it won't be your problem." Alfred's already pale face turned even paler. He immediately ordered his men to stop dumping the fish. "Always wanted to be a hero, Bud? Always want to protect the people? They may support you now, but good times won't last forever." The gates opened, and the ship passed the security check smoothly. "The mayor has been watching you. Remember, we know where you live," Alfred said coldly. "This is a small town," Bud replied. "Everyone knows where everyone lives." Once the boat reached a safe place, Bud kicked over a barrel, and the expedition members climbed out of the fish pile, reeking of fish. Bud handed a silver coin and a boatload of fish to an acquaintance on shore, instructing him to keep quiet about what he saw. Aaron took a deep breath of the not-so-fresh air and finally took in the sight of Changhu Town. The entire town was built on the lake, but it was dirty, chaotic, and poor, his first impression. "I understand why you're so poor. People who live in a place like this are probably just getting by," Aaron remarked. "At least we're still alive," Bud replied lightly. "Oh, people like you shouldn't be stuck here," Aaron said earnestly. "You deserve a wider world, a place in the capital of mankind." Bud smiled and subtly changed the subject. "Let's go to my house first." "No, your house is probably under surveillance now. That lackey may not be very capable, but his threats are real," Aaron murmured. "For the safety of you and your family, I suggest another place." "It's impossible for others to take in so many of you," Bud said, shaking his head. "You can only go to my house." "Aaron, it's fine," the old god Balin said. "I believe Mr. Bud must have a route to avoid surveillance." "Yes, but—" Bud looked embarrassed. "You may not be able to accept it." "I can accept it. I can accept it. I must accept it," Bilbo said. They had endured many hardships along the way, and safety was more important than anything else. Chapter 256, The Impossible Escape. "What? Crawling through the toilet?" Aaron stared at Bard with wide eyes. "I don't agree with killing him, but I've never been so humiliated in my life." The idea of escaping through the toilet was revolting. Even though Aaron wasn't from this world, the thought of such an escape would haunt him every time he used the bathroom in the future. The dwarves also exchanged uneasy glances, their hearts filled with reluctance. If word got out, their reputations would be ruined. How would they face anyone in the future? "That's the safest route. No one would think of it," Bard said with a forced smile. "And don't get me wrong, the toilet in our house leads directly to the lake below. It's not dirty at all." "That's still not okay," Aaron said angrily. "Fine." Bard spread his hands helplessly. "You can go to my house openly, get discovered by the Watchers, and then be found by the mayor. It doesn't matter to me. At worst, you'll be beaten up or locked up for a while, but you will definitely be arrested and sent to the Woodland Kingdom to claim credit." Hearing this, Thorin was silent for a long time before saying, "We agree." "Thorin," Dwalin said, looking at him in disbelief, "you can't be serious." "Why not?" Thorin asked rhetorically. "Is it the journey that matters, or a little bit of self-respect? We're running out of time. Nothing can go wrong. If we miss this chance, we might not get another." The dwarves, hearing this, reluctantly accepted the route. After all, personal honor and disgrace were insignificant compared to the goal of rebuilding the dwarf kingdom. "I refuse. Absolutely, under no circumstances, will I go that way," Aaron said, disgusted. "Even if I die, I'd rather jump from here than escape through a toilet." "Aaron, just bear with it," Bilbo persuaded patiently. "You don't need to persuade me. The elf prince and I have a bit of a friendship. Even if I get caught, nothing will happen." "But this isn't just about you," Balin said in a deep voice. "We are a team. If you are exposed, we won't be able to hide either." "Gaius," Thorin looked at him deeply, Don't forget the contract you signed. You can't be arrogant now. Aaron laughed angrily. Fine. Since things have come to this, I won't pretend anymore. Yes, I'm a wizard, and magic can keep me out of the sight of ordinary people, so I won't hold back the team. But you don't even have your wand, Bilbo said weakly. Aaron shot him a hard look. Why hadn't he noticed how troublesome Bilbo's mouth could be before? Are you sure? Thorin asked seriously. I'm pretty sure. Can you help us too? Dwalin asked impatiently, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Aaron gave him a gentle smile. I'm sorry, but I'm not that powerful yet. Casting a disillusionment charm on a dozen people is beyond me. Besides, you forced me into this escape plan. It's not very harmful, but it's very insulting. Dwalin and the others looked embarrassed and stopped pressing the issue. Have you decided? Bard asked. Come with me if you have. He led the group along a narrow path, but just after turning a corner, they bumped into a young man. Dad, our house is under surveillance. Your son? Aaron looked at the boy, estimating he was a few years older than himself. Bard nodded, then looked at his son. Don't worry, Bane. Stay here with Gaius. I'll show the others the route and be back soon. After speaking, Bard led the others through the streets, describing the location of his home and the signs of the toilet in detail to prevent any mistakes. When he returned, he saw Aaron talking to his son, asking about his age, education, and living conditions. Ahem, it's time for us to go. How are you planning to get to my house? Bard asked. If you regret it now, I can still take you there. No need, Aaron said, snapping his fingers. Instantly, his body became transparent. Bud was a little better, though shocked, his expression remained calm. Bon, however, was dumbfounded, pointing at the transparent area in front of him with a poor, trembling finger. Dad, did you see it? He's invisible. Really invisible. I see. I'm not blind, Bud replied. A simple and unpretentious disillusionment spell, Aaron said lightly. Now you can lead the way with confidence. Bud and Bon exchanged glances and silently walked out of the alley. To avoid suspicion from onlookers, they went to the market and bought some useful items as a cover. As they approached the house, the three climbed the stairs. Bud threw a fruit to the two people fishing under his house. You can tell the mayor that I have finished my work today. A little girl saw Bud come in and hugged him happily. Dad, where have you been? Another older girl also hugged him. Father, you're back. I was so worried. Here, Sigrid, Bud smiled, handing her the items he had scavenged from the market. Family harmony, Aaron said with emotion. Who is talking? Sigrid looked around in surprise. Yes, it's a wizard. A wizard, Bon said firmly, then looked to the side. Gaius, show them. Aaron shrugged and lifted the disillusionment charm. Seeing Aaron, Sigrid couldn't help but widen her eyes. It was the first time she had seen such a handsome man. What a wizard, the youngest daughter said, looking at Aaron curiously. Can you teach me magic? It depends on talent. There are some things you can't just learn if you want to, Aaron said euphemistically. Wizards were quite rare in this world, and this family had no wizard blood at all. Bon, let them in. I'll go too, Aaron said, full of interest. Where is your toilet? Come with me, Bon shrugged and led Aaron down the stairs. He looked at the unobstructed lake in front of him and after confirming that no one was watching, patted the wooden board on the wall. Boom, boom, boom. A bald man came out of the toilet. Dwalin looked at Bon very seriously and warned, If you tell anyone about this, I will wring your hand off. Aaron couldn't help laughing as he looked at Dwalin's darkened face. You still dare to laugh? Dwalin's face darkened even more. And you, if you dare to speak out, I will definitely pull out your tongue. Ha ha ha. Aaron clutched his stomach. I'm very sorry. I've also been trained strictly. No matter how funny it is, I won't laugh unless I can't help it. In addition, I appreciate your attitude, but unfortunately, you can't beat me. Ha ha ha. Dwalin's eyes burned with anger. He gave Aaron a hard look, then lifted the toilet lid and crawled out of the lake. Bon wanted to give him a hand, but Dwalin slapped his left hand away. Don't touch me. Go up that way. Bon pointed to the stairs, then pulled Bilbo out of the toilet, followed by a third, a fourth. Every time a person came out, Aaron's undisguised laughter stabbed them in the heart. When the last person came out, Aaron suppressed his laughter forcefully. It wasn't easy for Killy to survive until now. If he was overwhelmed by this wave of ridicule, the poison might spread even faster. Dad, why are these dwarves crawling out of our toilet? Sigrid asked. This knife repair is really wonderful, Aaron thought to himself. He had obviously felt Killy stagger just now, undoubtedly suffering a critical blow in his heart. Will they bring us good luck? The little girl asked happily. Not necessarily. Aaron patted her on the head and put a gold coin into her pocket. But I will bring you good luck. Take it, the pocket money your brother gave you. When everyone had come out, they gathered around the fire. With winter approaching, they had soaked in the cold lake water for nearly half an hour, each shivering from the cold. Bud shared the blankets at home with his clothes, and the three brothers and sisters specially. Sigrid poured a cup of hot water for each of them to warm up. She handed a glass to Aaron. Do you need this? Thanks, but the water is unnecessary. Just give me the glass, Aaron replied. He then took out a bottle of wine. I have this. Aaron opened the wine bottle and poured a full glass. The rich aroma immediately filled the room. Wine, Owen murmured, and the others also looked at the bottle, the sound of them swallowing their saliva echoing in the room. Hey, can you have some dignity? Aaron glanced at everyone in disgust and took a big sip from his glass. It tastes good, better than the wine brewed by Bilbo. Why does this look like a key? Bane asked, puzzled as he examined the cork. Ahem, Aaron almost spit out his wine. Don't worry about those details. I'll give it to you if you want it, or throw it away if you don't. Bane was stunned for a moment, then picked up the cork and threw it into the stove, adding a touch of warmth to the home. Dwarf's wind crossbow, Thorin said, staring at a dilapidated tower outside the window, on which a large crossbow was mounted. You look like you've seen a ghost, Bilbo remarked. Indeed, Balin explained. The last time we saw this crossbow, the town was on fire. On the day the dragon came, the day Smaug destroyed Lake Town, Girion, the mayor of Lake Town, summoned all his archers to attack the dragon. But the dragon's scale armor is very hard, harder than the strongest battle armor. Only the black arrows fired from the wind crossbow can penetrate the dragon's armor, but such arrows are very rare. Few of these arrows remained when Girion struck the final blow. If Girion had shot the dragon that day, everything would have been different, Thorin said regretfully. Say it as if you were there at the time, Bud interjected as he walked over. Perhaps he was really there, Aaron shrugged. After all, he is a dwarf, and they are all dwarves. Then they should know that Girion shot the dragon. He left a scar on the dragon's left flank. One more blow would have killed the dragon. Aaron spit out a mouthful of amber liquid and looked at Bane in astonishment. Are you serious? It's true. Where exactly is it? Is it near the heart? Aaron asked eagerly. If there were no accidents, they would be slaying the dragon next, and all the weaknesses of the dragon needed to be clarified. Chapter 257, The Prophecy About to be Fulfilled. It's just a legend, Dwalin laughed dismissively. No, all legends are based on facts, Aaron said seriously. They are the aborigines of Chenghu Town, and no one knows the authenticity of the legends better than them. Okay, even if it's true that Smaug's left wing is injured, what about the Black Arrow? Dwalin raised his eyebrows. There's still one wind crossbow left, but I bet no one owns the Black Arrow, not even one. Aaron remained silent, thinking to himself, You may need the Black Arrow, but I don't necessarily. What are you talking about? Bard frowned. Why do you care so much about the dragon? It has nothing to do with you, Thorin said, looking directly at Bard. You took our money, but what about our weapons? Wait here, Bard said, walking down the stairs. Hey, Aaron shook his head. Thorin, you have to be mentally prepared and don't have any expectations. Thorin forced a smile. He understood that Bard might not be able to produce any magical weapons, but he couldn't help but hope. As long as the weapons weren't too bad, they would make do. After a while, Bard returned with a wet black bag. The bag made a clanging sound when placed on the table, and Thorin and the others couldn't wait to open it. Damn it! Aaron's eyes twitched slightly. I've lowered my expectations as much as possible, but these things still disappoint me. Can these even be sold for a gold coin in the market? Bard was silent for a moment, then nodded in confusion. Aaron held his forehead in exasperation. He guessed from Bard's expression that these items were not worth a gold coin, but in Long Lake Town, they were priced as such. What is this? Thorin asked, picking up a weapon with claws. A spear hook, repurposed from an old harpoon. And this, Keely picked up a black hammer. We call it the hammer. It's modeled after a smithy hammer. It's heavy in the hand, but better than nothing for self-defense. The dwarves looked at each other in dismay, admitting that these items were indeed subpar. We gave you money to buy weapons, and we wanted real knives and real guns, Gloin said, giving a bad review. Most of the materials were wood, except for a small part of the tip. This is simply child's play, Beaufort said, throwing the weapon on the table in dissatisfaction. The others followed suit. You can't find anything better than what's in the town armory, Bard said helplessly. All the real weapons are locked in the armory. All the real weapons? Aaron thought of something and sneered. Your mayor is such a bastard. If I guessed correctly, he is worried that someone will revolt and oppose his rule. Thorin, why don't we take these and go? I can fight with my bare hands, and so can you, Balin said, not realizing that Bard's brows furrowed slightly at the mention of Thorin's name. Let me tell you, we're leaving now. You can't go anywhere, Bard said, putting away his treasured weapons. There are spies watching this house, and even all the peers in the town may be watched. You have to wait until dark. Everyone exchanged glances and did not raise any objections. At this time, Aaron noticed that Killy sat down slowly, his face pale and bloodless. Mr. Bard, I hope you can get the medicinal materials I need as soon as possible, Aaron said. Bard nodded, walked out of the house, and leaned against the fence. He repeatedly chanted Thorin's name, his mood gradually becoming heavy. Suddenly, he thought of something, turned his head to look at the towering mountain, and realized the purpose of the dwarves in the room. At that moment the door opened, and Bane looked at his father. Dad. Don't let them leave, Bard said hurriedly, about to go down the stairs. Wait, father, Bane said, pointing to the room. Aaron said he would go with you. What? Doesn't he know that there are people watching outside? So he changed his outfit, Bane replied. Aaron emerged wrapped in a thick scarf, wearing a hat and even dressed in Bane's clothes. I'm a serious human being, with only 1/3 of my face showing. No one should be able to recognize me. Is that necessary? Bud asked, puzzled. Extremely so, Aaron replied seriously. Killy can't hold on much longer. As a doctor, I need to prepare all kinds of herbs and maybe even test the medicine for that unlucky fellow. Besides, I have to pay for it, and I don't know how much I'm going to need. Of course, I'll pay you for leading the way. Come with me. Let's go faster, Bud said, leading Aaron to the only pharmacy in Chenghu Town. Despite having some psychological preparation, the state of the pharmacy managed to break through Aaron's defenses. Although Chenghu Town was dilapidated, its scale was not small. Yet, the only place that could cure diseases and save lives was not even comparable to a small clinic. The pungent smell inside made Aaron sigh with emotion. There must be a lot of people who die of diseases in Chenghu Town every year, Aaron remarked. The environment is a bit poor, but we rely on this place to save our lives at critical times, Bud said, knocking on the counter. Hey, Bud, do you want to buy something? A fat man asked from behind the counter. What do you want to buy? Bud asked Aaron. Aaron looked at the dozens of herbs on the medicine shelf, thought for a moment, and said in a deep voice, all of them. No, Bud immediately stopped him. There is more than one patient in the town. If you buy all the medicine, what will the common people do? I didn't think about that, Aaron said, embarrassed. All right, give me a double portion of everything. Anti-inflammatory, fever-reducing, pain-relieving, enough for 3 people. Is that acceptable? Okay, of course, but, the fat man looked at Bud, the price is not cheap. Aaron slapped 10 gold coins on the counter. Is this enough? It's enough? It's definitely enough, the fat man said happily, accepting the gold coins. His family wouldn't have to worry about this winter. As the sun was about to set, the two emerged from the pharmacy. Aaron was carrying a large package filled with various medicinal materials, along with a casserole set as an extra gift from the pharmacy owner. Walking down the road, they overheard the townspeople talking. A group of dwarves appeared out of nowhere, with beards and fierce eyes. I've never seen anyone like that. What are the dwarves doing here? This is a prophecy about the Turin dwarves. The old legend appears to be true, a huge treasure of gold and silver. Is this true? Is the King of Silver Spring coming back? Listening to these words, Aaron's face grew more and more concerned. He knew it was only a matter of time before they were exposed, but it was happening too soon, catching him off guard. If the townspeople knew, the mayor would soon find out, and leaving would likely become complicated. Prophecy? King of Silver Spring, King of Stone Carving. Bud murmured with a heavy face, King of the Lonely Mountain. He quickly pulled Aaron into an alley and asked directly, "Who are you guys? Those dwarves aren't going to the Iron Hills. They're going to the Lonely Mountain, right?" Guess what?" Aaron replied, trying to deflect. "I'm not in the mood to joke with you. I heard his name, Thorin. I've seen in a tapestry the family of the king under the mountain. Thorn, Thor, and finally Thorin. If it's true, then you must not go to the Lonely Mountain." "Why?" Aaron asked, puzzled. "Are you worried about that dragon?" "Yes," Bud admitted frankly. "People in the town don't understand, but I do. The prophecy says that bells of joy will ring to celebrate the return of the king of the Lonely Mountain." "That sounds good. The king of the Lonely Mountain will return to his kingdom." "But there's still the second half," Bud said anxiously. "However, everything in the world will be wiped out, and the Long Lake will eventually be wiped out." "Ah!" Aaron swallowed hard and glanced nervously at the Lonely Mountain looming in the distance. "It seems the Ings are getting a bit out of hand." He couldn't predict how furious Smaug would be upon waking, but with Changhu Town situated so close to the Lonely Mountain, the dragon could reach it in less than a minute. Given a dragon's destructive power, the town could be reduced to ruins within half an hour, and it seemed inevitable that many would perish under the onslaught of dragonfire. "I understand now," Bard said, his expression complicated. "This is the true prophecy. I can't let you go to the Lonely Mountain." "But you can't stop them," Aaron replied. "We've faced countless dangers on our journey. Ogres, orcs, skin changers, even elves. None of them could stop us, and these dwarves are willing to risk their lives to achieve their goal. Now that the Lonely Mountain is right in front of us, do you really think you can make them give up when they're just one step away? Besides, Bilbo and I have signed a contract. We won't give up. In fact, I came here specifically for Smaug." You are truly unreasonable," Bard said, exasperated. He grabbed Aaron's arm. "I have to try anyway. It's best if I can persuade you, but if I can't—" "You can't beat us," Aaron said sympathetically. "There are 15 of us, and considering your family, especially your 3 children, you won't resort to force. But I will bring everyone to reason with you. The townspeople won't let you go if they know about the prophecy." That's not necessarily true, Aaron thought, though he didn't voice it. The residents of Changhu Town spoke not of dragons, but of the return of the king of the Lonely Mountain and the promise of countless gold and silver treasures. Human nature is fickle, and most people believe what they want to believe. More importantly, the living conditions in Changhu Town were dire. A vast treasure could change everything, and they would likely choose to ignore the looming danger. Chapter 258, The King Begins to Paint Pancakes. The door swung open hurriedly, and Bud looked around the room, now occupied only by his 3 children. He was momentarily at a loss, then grew increasingly anxious. "Dad, I've tried my best to stop them," Bane said. "How long have they been gone?" Bud asked. "Almost 2 hours," Bane replied. 2 hours? Aaron exclaimed in astonishment. "They left shortly after we did? Did they leave any messages for me?" "They did," the younger daughter nodded. "Soren said he believes you'll follow them on your own, and the others said the same." Hearing this, the corners of Aaron's mouth twitched slightly. It was good to be trusted, but this kind of trust was both amusing and exasperating. "What about Killy? Did he say anything?" Aaron inquired. "He asked us to thank you on his behalf," Barnes said, "and to apologize." "Heh! I can't bear it," Aaron sneered, waving his hands dismissively. "I worked so hard to save his life, but I didn't expect him to not cherish it." "Why are you still talking about this?" Bud interjected, his anxiety mounting. "The point is, where did they go? Did they leave Changhu Town?" "Definitely not," Aaron said firmly. "Dwarves are more stubborn than you can imagine. They won't leave until they get what they want." Bud froze for a moment. "You mean?" "The arsenal. It has to be there." "Then let's go." "Go where? Your home is already under surveillance. Going to the arsenal now is like walking into a trap. They won't steal weapons during the day. The best time to act is after dark. Bud was stunned for a moment. Then, shall we go at night? No, Aaron resolutely refused. After a moment of thought, he said, the pier is closest to the arsenal. After they get the weapons, they'll definitely board a ship and leave from there. That makes sense, Bud realized. I'm going to the pier right now. I must stop them. How many times do I have to say it? You can't stop them. But the townspeople will make them give up, Bud insisted, putting on his bow and arrow and walking out of the room. Will my dad succeed? Sigrid asked worriedly. No, Aaron sighed, shaking his head. He's doomed to fail, but there will be no danger. The dwarves won't hurt him. He was extremely confident in his judgment. Bud wasn't a bad person and couldn't bring himself to kill. Facing dwarves who were ready to die for their cause, he could only back down. As for appealing to the townspeople, it was even more impossible. The townspeople hoped Soren would succeed. Only then could they live a good life. But why did Dad stop them? Bane asked, puzzled. Because of a prophecy, Aaron explained, pouting. Our destination is the Lonely Mountain. He worries that we'll disturb the dragon inside and bring destruction to Changhu Town. Do you believe in this illusory prophecy? The three siblings looked at each other, then nodded in unison. Maybe I didn't explain clearly. If Soren becomes the king of the Lonely Mountain, Changhu Town will prosper, and you'll live comfortably for the rest of your lives. But these seem worthless compared to life. Bond's tone was complicated, but his attitude was firm, and his two younger sisters gave him affirmative looks. Aaron sighed. Bud was definitely a qualified father, and his family education was impeccable. As long as they didn't die halfway, these three children would surely have a bright future. What about you? Sigrid looked at Aaron. How are you going to keep up with them? I'm a wizard. This couldn't be easier for me, Aaron said, pointing to the lonely mountain road outside the window with a meaningful smile. Knowing the end point, I can go wherever I want, and no one can stop me. But before that, there's something I need your help with. Aaron scratched his head in embarrassment, then placed the package he had been carrying on the floor, revealing various medicinal herbs. What are you buying so much medicine for? Bonnie asked. Why do you care so much? Aaron replied, taking a deep breath. Aaron took out 3 gold coins and handed them over. You are all locals. Please help me classify these medicines and leave me the ones you don't recognize. As night fell, a commotion stirred in the town. Aaron, who was busy decocting medicine, heard the sound of warnings and saw torches quickly lighting up outside his window. His face turned grim. A team of guards was escorting a dwarf to the mayor's residence, and the residents, abandoning their sleep, gathered to watch the spectacle. They were arrested? Barnes' face turned pale as he looked at Aaron in surprise. Does this mean my dad doesn't have to stop them? Maybe, Aaron replied, spreading his hands. I thought of everything, but I didn't expect them to stumble at the first step. You stay here and take care of the medicine. Once it's boiled, pour it into a bottle and seal it. Stepping outside, Aaron was met with heavy snowfall, which added to the solemn atmosphere. He wrapped himself up, leaving only half of his face exposed, and walked slowly among the crowd, stopping in front of the mayor's gate. After a while, he felt a pat on his shoulder and turned to see Bud looking at him with a depressed expression. It's a big mess, and it won't end well if not handled properly, Bud said. Then let me give you an idea, Aaron whispered. Don't be the first to act. But, no buts. I'm a wizard, and I'll save them if necessary, Aaron assured him. While it wouldn't be too difficult for him to kill the guards, getting the dwarves out safely was another matter. With so many guards and residents around, ordinary magic might not suffice. Should he use more powerful magic? Bud's heart tightened. What are you planning? I warn you not to hurt innocent people. Don't worry, I won't harm anyone unnecessarily. Aaron's eyes flashed with determination. What do you think about kidnapping the mayor? Bud was taken aback. Are you sure? The mayor may be a piece of trash, but he has quite a few guards. Rest assured, I have experience. I've hijacked trolls and orc kings. If it weren't for me, Thorin and the others would have died countless times, Aaron said confidently. Bud's eyes twitched slightly, and he unconsciously moved a little to the side. What kind of family raised such a ruthless person? The door opened, and a middle-aged man with a fat head and thinning hair emerged, with Alfred standing respectfully beside him. "What's going on?" the mayor asked angrily. "We caught the weapon thief on the spot, my lord," Alfred reported. "Oh!" A wicked smile appeared on the mayor's face. "Our enemy?" "They may be a group of mercenaries, my lord," Alfred suggested. "Shut up," Dwalin snarled. "Do you know who you're talking to? This is no ordinary thief. He is Thorin, son of Thrain, grandson of Thror." Thorin slowly stood up and revealed his identity to everyone in the town. He didn't want to be so high profile, but there was no other choice now. "We are the dwarves of Erebor, and we have come to reclaim our homeland." I still remember the prosperity of Lake Town in the past. The port was filled with fleets carrying silk and precious stones. Back then, Lake Town was not dilapidated at all. It was the trading center of the entire North. This speech resonated with the townspeople, who recalled their past lives, which were vastly different from their current state of barely getting by. "I hope to see prosperity return. I hope to revive the glory of the dwarves and let wealth flow from the halls of Erebor once again." As soon as Thorin finished speaking, cheers erupted from all around. Even the mayor's heart skipped a beat. This was no thief. He was clearly a bringer of wealth. But among the crowd, Aaron was struggling to hold back Bud, who wanted to rush forward. "Don't go. It's useless to go." "But if you let him continue to speak, you really can't. You can't stop it anymore. Look at these people. Their eyes are full of longing and joy. They won't listen to you now." "But life is more important." "I quite agree. Nothing is more important than life. But the problem is that Yun thinks so. At this moment, money is more important to these people. Do you know what it means to cut off one's wealth? It's like killing one's parents." Bud was silent for a few seconds before he spoke. "Let me try. Otherwise, I will feel guilty even if I die." Hearing this, Aaron pursed his lips and let go of Bud's arm. Bud breathed a sigh of relief, walked out of the crowd solemnly, and said loudly, "Death is what you will bring to us. The dragon's flame destroys everything. If you wake up that giant beast, he will kill us all." Soren looked at Bud in surprise but quickly adjusted. "You can also listen to this naysayer, but I assure you, if we succeed, we will." "Cough, cough!" Continuous coughing interrupted Soren, and Aaron walked out from the crowd. "Gaius, what do you mean?" Soren asked. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean anything else. I just feel that the king's promise can't be too casual," Aaron replied, smiling awkwardly but politely. "I suggest at least rebuilding the entire Long Lake town. What do you think?" Soren was taken aback for a moment. He had almost promised to share Erebor's wealth just now. But in fact, that was really impossible. If all the money was given to these townspeople, how could the dwarves rebuild Erebor? "That's right," Soren said, silently lowering the standard. He then roared loudly, "We will help rebuild the entire Escalos." The townspeople all showed joy. They had lived in such a messy environment for decades, and it was natural for them to be happy about someone helping to rebuild their homes. Aaron secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Not everyone can restrain themselves in the face of huge wealth. Now that this verbal agreement has been reached, it won't be too ugly if it turns out differently later. If it doesn't work, he could just take out his share of the reward. He didn't pay much attention to money. 1/15 of the treasure should be enough to rebuild this place. Chapter 259, The Stubbornness of One Root. "Everyone, please listen to me. Please, you must listen to me," Bard pleaded anxiously, looking at the gathered townspeople. "Have you all forgotten what happened to River Valley City? Have you forgotten those who perished in the Sea of Fire?" The fervor of the townspeople was suddenly doused with cold reality. Many lowered their heads, their hearts filled with hesitation. "For what?" Bard continued, looking at Thorin with disappointment. "For the ambition of becoming the king of the lonely mountain, driven by greed and blinded by desire." "Quiet, quiet, everyone. Let's not rush to shirk responsibility," the mayor interjected suddenly. "Everyone, don't forget that Girion, the mayor of Lake Town, your ancestor, failed to kill the dragon." "Girion is your ancestor?" Aaron asked Bard, surprised. If this were true, it meant that Smaug's left wing might have been hit by the black arrow, revealing a potential fatal weakness in the dragon. Alfred chimed in. "We all know the story. He shot arrow after arrow and missed." The wind shifted again, and the hesitant townspeople began to lean towards supporting the dwarves' actions. Bard walked up to Thorin. You have no right to enter the mountain. I'm the only one with the right to go in, Thorin said indifferently, then turned to the mayor. May I ask, Mayor of Laketown, would you like to see the prophecy come true? Would you like to share in the great wealth of my race? A heavy hammer struck the mayor's heart. Of course, he was willing. Who doesn't like money? I'll tell you, the mayor said, rubbing his hands with a smile. Welcome, welcome, once again, King of the Mountain. With the mayor's endorsement, the townspeople's resolve solidified, and they all burst into laughter, as if they could already see a bright future beckoning to them. Bard, unable to dissuade Thorin or the townspeople, returned home helplessly. The mayor warmly entertained the expedition team, bringing out all the good wines he had collected. He also assured them that weapons, armor, supplies, and food would be ready by the next morning. Don't you want to live anymore? Aaron asked seriously, looking at Killy, who was sitting alone in the living room. There was a trace of sternness in his eyes. The poison in you is hard to cure, but I am confident I can suppress it. But you must rest well. Before I prepare the antidote, you can't move around, let alone participate in the next action. How long will it take? Keely asked weakly. Aaron raised his eyebrows, thinking Keely had finally understood. You're lucky. The orc's poison is strange but crudely made. I happen to be a student of a master of potions, and I can develop an antidote with ordinary herbs. The antidote can detoxify you in less than 7 days. However, the injury on your leg will take longer to heal, because it wasn't treated in time. I'm asking how long it will take for the medicine to boil, Killy said with a wry smile. This expedition is too important for the dwarves. I must be present when the door opens. Aaron sighed. Your mother was right. You are too reckless. Killy, do you really not take your life seriously? Some things are more important than life. Slap, Aaron struck him directly. Why did you hit me? Keely asked, stunned. To wake you up, Aaron said angrily. If you were truly hopeless, I would respect your decision. It is a man's romance to die on an expedition. But now that you have a chance to live, and I am sure I can cure you, you still want to die. Either the toxin has penetrated your brain, or your brain is flooded. I do not. You do, Aaron insisted, tapping him on the head. I'm the doctor. Besides, we escaped by water. It's normal for a seriously injured person to have their brain flooded. But this expedition— Shut up, Aaron interrupted, taking off the black stone hanging from his neck. Before you decide to die, think about your mother first. Keely was silent for a moment. Feely, Aaron patted his forehead in frustration. Sore, In is your relative. I can't believe this stubbornness runs in the same family. How do you know? He is my uncle, Keely retorted. Aaron sighed deeply, pulling at his hair in exasperation. I've had enough. You want to die, don't you? Fine, I'll go find your uncle and brother right away. If they agree with your decision, then so be it. Don't, Keely pleaded, grabbing Aaron's arm tightly. Please, don't tell them. I beg you. Aaron smirked, opening his hands. Are you trying to teach me how to handle things? You don't want me to tell them? Well, now I definitely will. A few minutes later, Aaron returned with Thorin and Feely. I've done my best. What happens next is up to you. You've been poisoned, Thorin said angrily, glaring at Keely. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Uncle, Keely struggled to stand. I must be present when the Hall of the Fathers opens. Thorin helped him into a chair. Keely, I understand you, but you really can't go now. Not only for your sake, but for the sake of this expedition. You will seriously slow us down. You must stay here, Feely added earnestly. You need to rest, detoxify, and heal your wounds. I promise, brother, the first thing we do after we succeed is to take you to Gushan. Seeing their resolute attitudes, Keely forced a smile and nodded regretfully. Feely stayed to comfort his younger brother, while Thorin pulled Aaron aside. Gaius, tell me the truth. Can you really cure him? Thorin asked. Don't worry, I'm confident, Aaron replied, but it's best to send him to Bard's house tomorrow. The mayor's character is completely unreliable. Will he agree? Thorin asked skeptically. After all, he just slapped Bard back. There's no one in Laketown who hates dwarves more than Bard. Aaron shrugged. I'll talk him through. After dinner, the members of the expedition team lay on the ground to rest, snoring one after another. Aaron slowly opened his eyes and tiptoed away. He went to Bard's house and knocked on the door. Bard opened the door and seeing Aaron said coldly, "Take your medicine and leave. You are not welcome here." "Don't be so hasty," Aaron laughed. "I'm here to ask for your help." "I don't dare to help you anymore," Bard sneered, waving his hand. "Give him the things." Bane placed the herbs Aaron had bought outside the door. Sigrid handed him a casserole and 2 bottles of lavender potions, while the youngest daughter put 3 gold coins in Aaron's pocket. The message was clear. They wanted nothing more to do with him. "Your medicine, casserole, and gold coins are all here. Leave now," Bard said, about to close the door. Aaron quickly stopped him. "The prophecy may not be set in stone," Aaron said. Bard hesitated for a moment, then sighed. "Come in." Aaron shrugged and walked into the house. The 3 siblings moved the medicinal materials back inside. "What do you want me to do for you?" Bard asked, sitting in a chair. "I need to stay at your house for a few days. Not just me, but also Killy. If his poison isn't treated, he won't survive," Aaron explained. "I agree," Bard nodded hesitantly, then looked at Aaron seriously. "Now tell me how to change the prophecy." "It can't be changed," Aaron said bluntly. "If Thorin and the others don't kill Smaug in the Lonely Mountain, he will definitely come here." "Didn't you just say there was a turning point?" Bane asked angrily. "The turning point I mentioned is only for your family," Aaron clarified. "I'm a wizard, and I can protect your family with my abilities." "What about the others?" Bard asked urgently. "What about the residents of the town?" I have to be honest with you. I can't save everyone," Aaron said bluntly. "I will draw a defensive barrier, but it will only protect a limited area. Even if a dragon burns it, the magic circle near your house cannot be easily destroyed. As long as you hide in the ruins, you can survive," Aaron explained. "There's no way to survive," Bud countered, his voice tinged with despair. "Winter is coming soon. If Changhu Town is destroyed, we'll starve or freeze to death." Aaron's eyes twitched in frustration. "Can't we move to another place?" "We have nowhere to go," Bud replied, shaking his head. "If we leave this town, we become homeless refugees. Fleeing in winter, we would likely die on the way before reaching another town." Aaron sighed deeply. "You're so pessimistic, but there's truth in what you say." With a resigned expression, Aaron placed all the gold coins he had found in the troll's treasure cave on the table. "This is all my money. It's enough for you to gather enough supplies to survive this winter. In the spring, you can take your family and start a new life elsewhere." Bud looked at the bag of gold coins, a slight smile forming at the corner of his mouth. "Did you make these arrangements for our family?" "Consider it done," Aaron replied. "Your family is worth saving. As for the others, I won't go out of my way to save them. This is within my power." "Thank you for your kindness," Bud said, pushing the gold coins back towards Aaron. "But I can't abandon the residents here. My ancestors failed to kill the dragon, so what right do I have to abandon them and escape alone?" Aaron froze for a moment, then looked at Bud and the 3 siblings standing firmly behind him. "I was right about you," Aaron said, applauding. "I will guarantee the safety of your family before I kill Smaug, in the name of Gaius. As for the future, I can't promise anything. Soren has promised to help you rebuild this town." "Wait, you mean you're going to kill Smaug?" Bud asked, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Really?" "Of course," Aaron replied casually. "Soren wants to rebuild the Dwarven Kingdom, but my goal is simply to kill the dragon. Originally, there was a gray-robed wizard in our team, but he's temporarily busy. As a wizard, I only have a 50% chance of winning, but your son Bon told me that was shot through a dragon scale by Girion, which is a fatal weakness. That gives me another 20%. Plus, with the prophecy and some preparations in Long Lake Town, I can increase my chances to 70%. That's enough to fight." Chapter 260, The Last Black Arrow. Seeing Aaron's confidence, Bard lowered his head and remained silent for a moment. "In that case, I can help you." "Come on, how can you help me?" "That is a dragon that can destroy heaven and earth. You should protect yourself and your family better." Aaron's voice stopped abruptly as his eyes were drawn to a jet-black arrow the size of a javelin in Bard's hand. The black arrow, rumored to be able to pierce dragon armor. Although he had never seen it before, Aaron was certain of his guess. This arrow was made of a special material, making it very hard and sharp. It wasn't a magical weapon, but it could certainly be called a formidable one. "It's hidden deep enough. Your ancestor Girion actually left you such wealth, Aaron remarked, a slight smile playing on his lips. Bard, your archery skills may exist for this very purpose. There is only this last black arrow left, Bard said with a mix of emotion. In other words, we only have one chance and we must kill it with one blow. No, Aaron shook his head, a mysterious look in his eyes. I am a wizard, and I can create a second, third, or even fourth chance for you. The original chance of winning might be slim, but with the addition of a master archer, a wind crossbow, and this black arrow, our chances increase significantly. The remaining uncertainty will be left to luck. What are you going to do? Bard asked. Aaron looked at the arrow tower outside, and after thinking for a long time, said, I plan to find your mayor first. Why are you looking for him? Bard frowned. He will never help us. He might even hinder us. This is not an exaggeration. If he wants to ensure his status, he will never allow a beloved hero to appear in the town. I guess so, Aaron said with a disdainful curl of his lips, tossing a money bag full of gold coins. But I think a greedy person like him would not refuse gold. I will negotiate with him as a member of the expedition team. I won't ask for his help, but we must ensure he doesn't cause trouble for us. All we need is time. Bard was speechless, but he understood the necessity of avoiding any accidents at this critical time. And after that? Bard inquired. We'll discuss it later. Otherwise, he won't take me seriously after Thorin and the others leave, Aaron replied. Don't leave the house until I come back. Walking out of the room, Aaron couldn't suppress the joy in his heart. Originally, he planned to fight Smaug to the death on the Lonely Mountain. The chances of winning were not high, but he could find opportunities slowly. Now, with the prophecy and an excellent teammate, dragon slaying seemed certain. Back at the mayor's residence, after the guard informed him, Alfred invited Aaron in. Alfred looked at Aaron curiously, not understanding why a boy would join the team of dwarves. However, thinking about the gold and silver treasures in the Lonely Mountain, he decided to be more polite to the boy. My name is Gaius, Mr. Alfred, Aaron introduced himself with a harmless smile. I have something to ask the mayor. The mayor is resting. If you have anything to say, just tell me, Alfred replied. Are you sure you can make the decision? Aaron asked suspiciously. This matter has something to do with Bard. Bard? Alfred's pale face showed a sullen look, and he sneered. It must be his performance tonight that made the king of the mountain angry. I can decide this. I will immediately ask the guards to take him into prison. No, no, no. Aaron waved his hands hastily. I'm not trying to catch him. I need his help with something. Alfred was stunned for a moment. He didn't want to give Bard a chance to stand out. May I ask, what do you want him to do for you? There is a wounded person in our team. I need Bard's house as a temporary hospital. His place is still clean. No problem at all. I'll have people drive his family out, and his house will be confiscated, Alfred said eagerly. Aaron, this is not just a lackey, but a pure villain. That? I still need M and his family to take care of me temporarily, Alfred said, a bit disappointed. Adding 2 more people to Bud's house would have been too much. Wait, do I really need to discuss this with the mayor? Aaron asked, his tone meaningful. I'm interested in the bell tower in Changhu Town and want to study the wind crossbow on it. Since Bud is a descendant of Girion, he might be able to give me some advice. I want to discuss hiring him for a few days with the mayor. Ah, this. Alfred hesitated, knowing the mayor planned to take action against Bud in the next few days. Don't worry, I understand the rules, Aaron said, slipping 10 gold coins into Alfred's pocket. Alfred's eyes widened at the weight of the gold, and his attitude towards Aaron softened immediately. He assured Aaron that the mayor would agree to the arrangement. After dealing with Alfred, Aaron found a random room to rest. The room provided by the mayor was quite basic, with only the essential furniture, but it was more than what most residents of Changhu Town could afford. Lying on the bed, Aaron stretched out comfortably. He hadn't slept in a bed for over half a year. Since joining the expedition team, he had been sleeping outdoors, often without even a bedroll. It was sheer willpower that had kept him going. System, sign in, Aaron commanded. The host signs in at Changhu Town and gets 2 magic points. Only 2? Aaron raised an eyebrow. He now had 98 magic points, and with these 2, he had exactly 100. System. Open the mall. Magic transformation, 1,000 magic points, including animagus. Flight, 100 magic points. Flight speed depends on personal strength. Distance projection, 300 magic points. At charm, 700 magic points. Effective unless the target has a strong will. At necromancy, 500 magic points. Materials. At phoenix feather, 30 magic points. At dragon blood, 20 magic points. Mandrake root, 5 magic points. At bezoar, 1 magic point. Rhino horn, 3 magic points. Items, blank, magic crystal, 100 magic points, contains powerful magic energy, can power a magic array. Magic stone, 1 magic point. At Jelani's emerald, 50 magic points, brings doom to the holder, blank. Aaron's eyes wavered between the magic type flight and the item type magic crystal. When resources are limited, choices become difficult. He was planning to slay a dragon next, and flying ability would be helpful. But the magic crystal was also urgently needed to sustain his magic circle. After some internal debate, Aaron decided to purchase the magic crystal. His magic points were instantly depleted, and he now held a blue crystal the size of his palm. Aaron sighed, deciding to use the magic crystal on the clock tower, hoping it would withstand a few more rounds of Smaug's attacks. He allocated half of his magic energy to create a thought body clone and handed the magic crystal to it. Long Lake Town will be in your hands. I will go to Arubor to complete the contract, Aaron said. Can we switch? It's not ideal for me to be on the main battlefield, the thought body clone said worriedly. Its mana would deplete quickly in a fierce battle. I'll return at the critical moment, Aaron assured. The next morning, the expedition team donned brand new armor and sharp weapons, heading towards the nearest pier. We're missing a few, Bilbo noted. Where are Keely, Beaufort, and Beaver? Keely is injured. They will stay here to take care of him, Thorin explained. We must, Balin added. We cannot afford to delay finding the gate before evening. Where's Gaius? Feely asked, looking at Aaron suspiciously. Why did you come with us instead of detoxifying Keely? Someone asked. Don't worry, it's been arranged. His poison can be controlled, Aaron assured, exuding confidence. Everyone in Changhu Town gathered at the pier to warmly send off Suo Lin and the others as they boarded the boat. Alfred looked puzzled when he saw Aaron. Didn't you say? Alfred began. Forget about it, Aaron interrupted, quickly changing his demeanor. He discreetly handed Alfred a few gold coins. It should be fine for me to see them off. It's not a problem at all, Alfred replied with a gentle smile. Money was never an issue for him. As the farewell music played, the expedition team boarded the boat and rowed down the river, accompanied by the blessings and expectations of the residents of Changhu Town. Meanwhile, Beaufort, who had been snoring under the wine table, woke up with a start. My God, it's time, he murmured. Realizing he had overslept, he sat up abruptly, hitting his head on the table. Rubbing his head, he was about to rush out when a hand grabbed him from behind. Stop chasing. The boat has already left. You won't be able to catch up, a voice teased. I really don't understand how you missed such an important moment. Beaufort, feeling distraught, asked, Did you catch up too? No, the voice replied. Keely was poisoned, and Thorin arranged for Beaver to stay and take care of him. Seeing that you were still sleeping, I decided to stay with you. Keely was poisoned? When? Beaufort asked, now fully alert and worried. When we were hiding from the orcs, Borg shot an arrow into his leg. The arrow was poisoned, but my medicine has temporarily suppressed it. Beaver is working on an antidote. Where are they now? Beaufort inquired urgently. At Bard's house, the voice answered solemnly.